roots across the plains. Hope rekindles in the crimson tide, as freedom's anthem calls our names. Great again, we rise as one, under stars that guide our way. A song of promise has begun, and strength returns in light of day. Fields of dreams are ripe once more. Factories hum with honest pride. Our banner waves on every shore, with courage marching by our side. Great again, we rise as one, under stars that guide our way. A song of promise has begun, and strength returns in light of day. Through trials dark, we found our steel. The eagle's cry breaks through the night. In unity, our wounds now heal. We chase the dawn with fearless light. Great again, we rise as one, under stars that guide our way. A song of promise has begun, and strength returns in light of day.
I still get a kick out of that. All right, hey.
What drug is that guy on?
I don't know, man, but I want some of it. How's everybody doing tonight? Everybody ready for Christmas? I'm certainly not. Too much other stuff.
Oh, here we are. How was your week, Rich?
Oh, pretty good. Can't complain. Doesn't help.
Can't complain. Nobody listens.
Yeah. What's that? Yeah. I'm off for 2 weeks, though. That's good. I don't go back till the 2nd, which is always nice.
Yeah, are we doing something next Friday?
No. Yeah, we can't. And for the guys that are going to be on 40s next week, I was invited and I accepted, but then I forgot I have a family obligation, so I can't go. Sucks because I won't be home in time.
Okay, so there's no show.
There's no show for us next week.
What about the 2nd?
Probably. Who cares about that? But yeah, because I'm probably still going to have people over, my family.
Okay.
On Friday. So, well, maybe we can do it. If you want to do it, we'll do it.
But hey, listen, I'm not going anywhere.
All right, then we'll do it.
26th. The 26th is another day.
Yeah, because there's going to be a boatload of news that week too. We got a lot of news. Let's go over it real quick. What we're going to talk about tonight. There's always a theme too, because there's always like a lot of the same news for a lot of places. So Mike Benz, if you know who he is, he's on Twitter a lot. Follow him on Twitter because he's really good. Mike Benz proves CNN was in on the 2020 cover-up. We're going to watch that. Trump's Christmas gift to America, a year of U.S. global leadership and peacemaking. You know what, guys? The Democrats and the libnuts in media are out there saying, oh, Donald Trump's just done. The Republicans are going to lose, you know. Holy crap, are they wrong? It's like the Democrats right now, one of our favorite guys on CNN, who does the polling, and he just tells it like it is. He doesn't lie. And he just said that they are I think it was 11 years they've been doing this poll, and he said they've never seen a party as low as the Democrats are right now. They have like a minus 62, whatever that means. But they said it's so low that it looks like they don't have a prayer. So good. I'm glad. So here we go. For our British friends, this is nuts. British man sentenced to 18 months in prison for posting hate speech on social media. And where do you hear what the hate speech was? So core inflation, according to the numbers that just came out, plunges to the lowest since early 2021. And we had all these jackasses. I think Rob Reiner, up until his kid slit his throat, was saying, you know, like, well, inflation's high again, and it's not his fault. He can't blame Biden. Well, yeah, he could, but now he brought it down. Here's one: priced out by design, one American family and their Obamacare nightmare. Because the talk about Obamacare is on there because my piece of garbage Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick and 3 other rhinos voted to extend in the House. The Senate said, get out of here with that shit. But the House, they helped the Democrats pass it in the House to extend it by 3 more years. And their answer is something like, well, I think that, you know, to have it extended for 3 years with no accountability and all that is worse than not having it at all. I'm like, what? What? You just voted to extend it for 3 years, jackasses. So here we go. A secret that the DNC must never reveal, and it's why they lost the 2024 elections. You're going to want to hear that. Oh, and our favorite judge, the Milwaukee judge, she was found guilty of felony obstruction in helping, they say, the illegal alien scum evade arrest. Here we go. This little guy, the munchkin. Money today or blood tomorrow. Europe debates seizing Russian cash. Guys, Trump had the answer to end this freaking thing, and Putin was going along with it. I mean, holy cow. So the Democrats, because Trump wanted to end the war and Putin agreed with it, they go, and all the libnut globalists over in Europe, you know, oh, we can't do that. It'll give Trump a win. Yeah. Meanwhile, like 1,000 men die a week in that stupid war that Biden helped start. Trump versus the EU, how Brussels is bankrupting American companies and aiding China. Yeah, we love you guys, but your government sucks. They've been trying to screw us for years, and now they were like the globalists in charge, even though you guys did Brexit. God bless you for that. But they were like the globalists in charge of all globalist things against the United States. So Democrats, here's my senator. I don't mind him too much. I won't vote for him, but he's all right now. Democrats' narrative on Trump admin randomly shooting boats sunk by one of their own. So he destroyed their argument. That's a good one to hear, too. Exclusive. Patriots of the Caribbean. Senator Mike Lee bill authorizes privateers to combat cartels outside U.S. borders. That's great. That's awesome. Trump seeks to strip naturalized citizenship from immigration fraudster. Here we go. Bombshell report. Asmund Crockett charged with assaulting a police officer in 2022. Trump's State Department declares war on destructive ideologies. You gotta love that. And Bessent, he forecasts substantial tax refunds and real wage increases next year. They're saying first 2 quarters of next year, we're going to see the boom because everything's going to start coming in then. It took a year to get, I always say you can burn a house down in 3 hours, but it takes a year to build it back. Same thing here. The Democrats destroyed our economy and pretty much the world economy in 4 years.
What we want to look at is the second and third quarters of next year leading into the midterms.
Right.
That's what matters.
Well, no, I think they all do, but I think the first 2 do because that will set the tone. Yeah. When everybody starts getting jobs and higher wages and we have cheaper shit, right? Because inflation's down right now. What the libnuts on CNN and MSNBC or MS Now are not going to tell you is that in the first 2 quarters, all the cheap shit that we buy is still going to be priced high because it was all made, it was all manufactured under his inflation, because that's how it works. So it's going to take a little while by like third and fourth quarter, but inflation's down now, and so that's going to move forward. This is how it works, and you're going to see wages rise too.
Yeah,
And a lot of people, I mean, it's going to be like his first term where if you're not working in the United States and you're able-bodied, then you're fucking lazy. Go ahead.
yeah. I was going to say. I mean, typically we gear up about 6 months before, so you're looking at the second into the third quarter, and if things are looking good, that'd be great.
Right. Georgia law. I was on the phone today with Mark Davis, the guy we bring on. Well, Georgia lawmakers grill Fani Willis over Trump prosecution fallout. He is now being looked at by all the people that are going to go after Georgia, like the Trump administration, all the people that the the DOJ is contacting. We're talking Owens, and I forget the other guy's name, but there's two people that are like pit bulls for election fraud, and I think Mark may be testifying before Congress on this. And this, you guys got to understand, this is his like 30-year dream, scenario. He has been working to fix all the cheating problems in Fulton County, Georgia, for like 30 years. And now we finally have a president that's willing to listen to all of it, because he got robbed in that election, and they definitely cheated in Georgia. All right. And I asked him, I said, like, for example, he was telling me he was coming up with like a kit that he's going to create to help any other election integrity people in different states if they want to do the same thing he did to prove election fraud in Georgia. And they can still do it for 2020. The date is there, right? So I got a friend from church who said, yeah, I would love to do that. Can I get in touch with him? So I put him in touch with him, and they talk. So he's going to create a kit, and that's going to be really cool, because then you're going to see more than just Georgia where they're going to go after them. So Susie Wiles, all right. A lot of people, why would she go on Vanity Fair? Yeah, she went on. She did 11 interviews with them, right? So she rips Vanity Fair, saying it was disingenuously framed hit piece, and it was. And we'll get into that. She never said any of the things that the New York Times said that they said. And the guy that wrote Vanity Fair, I listen to Mike Slater on Breitbart News Daily every morning on Sirius XM. And he said that he interviewed this guy twice in his career on the radio. And the first time, the guy was like a normal guy. He was a liberal and all, but he was a normal thinking guy. He said the second time was after Trump got elected. The first time, he said he was like TDS level 11, and he said he's just out of his mind crazy. And he's the guy that wrote the piece. And the New York Times did the story, but their story was on the Vanity Fair side. And so what happened, remember when they said that she told the guy from Vanity Fair that, well, Trump has the tendencies of an alcoholic. She never said anything like that. The story is that they asked her, what's it like working with this president? And she said, oh, my goodness. She says, he never goes to sleep. If he does, it's for like 2 hours. She goes, he's around the clock working. He's always working, and they, afterwards, they wrote in there, they said, well, what she's describing is certainly the behavior and antics of an alcoholic. And then the New York Times read that and went, oh, here we go. We got fodder. And then it just expanded on it. And she never said anything like that. That's what every hit piece they did. They just lied or made it up. And they wonder why, like, their ratings are dropping and they're not selling anymore.
I got to say one thing, though.
What's that?
For somebody who is supposed to be in a position to make decisions, doing that interview was a very poor decision.
Well, she got it approved by the president because what she thought was
I don't care who approved it and who didn't. It was a bad idea.
Well, it's always a bad idea to go with any left-wing outlet, but Vanity Fair is pretty bad. Vanity Fair is worse than, I would say, Politico. Because Politico, every now and then, broken clock is right twice a day. That's Politico, but Vanity Fair, never.
Yeah,
they're so left-wing.
Rich, the thing is, Vanity Fair interviews flowers. They don't interview gardeners. She's a gardener. She's not a flower.
Yeah.
They interview flowers.
I read that somewhere today. Where'd you get that from? What's up, Commander? What's up, Louie?
Good to see you guys. You read that because I texted it to you the other day.
Oh, did you? Is that what it was? Yeah. Because I was like, what the fuck is she talking about? A flower? I'm all right, fine. Yeah, we're doing pretty good. How are you doing, brother? I got a Canadian story out there we're going to go over, too. So let's see. Minnesota's U.S. attorney reveals new fraud of $9 billion or more. This guy, it was all in his watch. And you watch, they're going to do the Democrat shuffle. They're going to say, oh, it was a low-level employee. I mean, God, we don't even know he was around, and he did all this. He's responsible. This guy should go down just for that. Think about this, guys. He was vetted, supposedly, to be the vice president of the United States. Hold your giggles. He was never going to win. But think about that. That party said, oh, yeah, he's great. Oh, we got to have him. What would America do without him as vice president, right? So they chose him. They didn't know that there's over 250 million or billion, I can't remember, even $1 million in fraud among the Somalis there.
I heard it was like up to 8 billion.
Yeah. But I'm saying the one alone was 250 million on that safari restaurant gig.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Good money if you can get it, right? But how could this jackass allow, I'm a governor, I'm not the federal. It doesn't matter. You let fraud go on. You just let it go on. Then you defended Ilhan.
You know what that makes me think? It makes me think of the previous story with Susie, and maybe she got Trump's approval, but that was a stupid decision. And if we wanted, we didn't vote for stupid. If we wanted stupid, we had a pair all ready to go with bows on them. But we didn't vote for them.
All right, moving along. Here we go. Fulton County says 315,000 votes lacking sign-off counted in 2020. I'm telling you, they're going after them. They're going after them.
I'm waiting to see any one of them in handcuffs.
Yeah, well, you will not see that, but they'll be destroyed. Their reputations, they won't be able to work again. It's coming out in truckloads. Trump promises new evidence showing 2020 election fraud. That's the big one this week, because they're all coming out going, you know what? We now have all the evidence. All right, and then we got all this. And at the 7 o'clock hour, my son wrote a song. He just pushed a song. It's a Christmas song. I think it's damn good. It's a rap song, but it's Deck the Halls. And I thought it came out really well. So I'm going to play that around the 7 o'clock hour. I was trying to get him in here, but he can't. He's got other things. He's got other things to do. So, all right.
And then everybody stick around. It's not a raving rant, but I do have a bit of a Dr. Jade moment.
Oh, good. You got that. Nice. Nice. All right. So let's start. I feel like I got to sneeze. Sorry. Here we go. Yeah, I do have to sneeze. Hold on. Let me see. What are we going to do? Mike Benz. So Mike Benz proves CNN was in on the 2020 cover-up. And guys, this means if CNN was in on it, the rest of the usual suspects were in on it as well, because they all follow the same script, right? So for years, Americans were shamed for even asking questions about the 2020 election. Remember they told us, they said, well, like Facebook came right out and said, before the election, well, if there's any questions about the integrity of the election, we're just not going to allow it because we're tired of this. We're tired of those Republicans complaining. And they did. They censored everybody. I got censored. My website was censored like 95% of my feed, right? They were told questioning the fairest election in all the land made them dangerous, unhinged, or somehow anti-democracy. The media and the left treated the most sane curiosity as a threat. Believe in the process, they said. Don't ask questions, they warned. If you dare disobey, you were branded an election denier. They did that because it's so close to Holocaust denier. You put the word denier in there, and nobody wants to do that, that whole Israel thing, right? And so they say he's an election denier and kicked out of polite society with a boot up your ass. Okay, but here's the thing. The very reasonable and understandable questions never went away because the 2020 story never made sense. The sudden explosion of mass mail-in ballots, late-night vote dumps, and the way the map flipped after Election Day. And now, after 2024, a new question has become impossible to ignore. Where did all those supposed Biden voters go? Did they just disappear in a poof? The skepticism. I mean, Kamala was as bad as, well, in some cases, she wasn't worse. She could, well, I don't know, man. I mean, that's a toss up there. We could do a whole show on that. But they went away? No. Joe Biden didn't get that many votes. He got that many ballots. The skepticism surrounding 2020 was never irrational, especially when the same people who demanded unquestioning trust spent years shamelessly denying every election outcome that didn't float their boats. Yeah, that's right. They complained at every certification process every time a Republican won, including Trump when he won. What was once taboo to even discuss is now being examined openly by analysts, journalists, and national security experts. And one of the most detailed explanations of how the narrative around 2020 was managed is coming from Mike Benz. If I'm telling you, follow him on Twitter. Mike Benz lays out what he argues was a coordinated effort to shape public perception around the 2020 election well before a single vote was cast. And as always, at the center of everything is CNN. My now governor, Shapiro, right? Josh Shapiro, he was the attorney general, Democrat, right? During the 2020. And before the election, he was putting out tweets left and right saying, don't forget, it's going to look like Trump won on election night, but when all the votes are counted, Joe Biden will be the winner. He was in on it. He knew what the hell was going on. The claim centers on a concept known as red mirage, blue shift. And I talked about this in a video for a little bit that I did. The idea that the election would appear to favor Trump on election night, but flip days later, only to flip days later as mail-in ballots were counted. That's why they had to mail in millions of ballots. They didn't even know who the hell they were going to because they were mailing them to dead people, to people that moved, right? According to Benz, this outcome wasn't just anticipated. It was actively planned for, normalized, and protected from scrutiny through coordinated media messaging and censorship. So Wall Street apes, whoever they are. This is so insane. Mike Benz just literally just proved CNN worked with Democrats to cover up the steal of the 2020 election. There was a plan called Red Mirage Blue Shift event. The 2020 election would appear, we just read that. CNN even wrote an entire article on their plan 2 months before the election happened, clearly indicating their involvement. And then there was a story that was done, was it Politico? That they bragged about how they did it, how they got away with it. So, quote, it gets back to their one chance for winning the election in 2020, which is what they called Red Mirage Blue Shift. This is CNN, for example, September 1, 2020, month before the Whitmer fending, 2 months before the election, 4 months before January 6th, deciphering the Red Mirage and Blue Shift, uncertainty surrounding the election results shown in the video. We'll just go to the video. But here's the thing. All that shit that went on, they just mentioned Whitmer. Remember Governor Whitmer? It was supposed to be that there were people that were trying to kidnap her, and it turns out that the judge had to let them all go because there were more feds in the terrorist group than there were actual terrorists, and they paid for all the supplies that they were going to use to kidnap her and for the truck. They provided the truck there.
And they talked them into it.
Yeah, and they talked them into it, right? That was all done. They knew nothing was going to happen. That was all done to put a perception in voters' minds that, oh, man, these MAGA people, that Trump got these people to try to kidnap a woman who was the governor of Michigan who locked people down for much longer than she had to, right? It was to put like dirt on the minds of voters, right? That was just one death by 1,000 cuts of things that they did. And January 6th was another one. The whole pipe bomb, which is now coming out. They say they found the guy, but guess what? FBI lied to us again. So let me just go to the video. There we go. This is Mike Benz.
It gets back to their one chance for winning the election in 2020, which is what they called the Red Mirage Blue Shift event. This is CNN, for example, September 1, 2020, month before the Whitmer kidnapping, 2 months before the election, 4 months before January 6th. Deciphering the Red Mirage and Blue Shift, uncertainty surrounding the election results. This was what CISA and the censorship operation to censor the 2020 election was all about. It was to pre-censor anything that might question or, quote, delegitimize an upcoming miraculous come-from-behind victory the day after or in the days after, where it would be a red mirage, Trump would win on election night, but then it would shift blue and Biden would win. They knew that was Biden's only path to victory, that it would look to all hell. So they had to pre-censor 5 months before that happened, starting in June 2020. Any criticism of it on social media. That's why you got banned for questioning mass mail-in ballots. Because high-ranking government officials at the Department of Homeland Security teamed up with their outside blob mob, who are all career specialists in toppling governments, and know that the crux of it is perceptions of legitimacy.
Yeah.
I want to see one of them, any. I'll believe it when I see any of them in an orange jumpsuit.
Coming from behind. Okay. We won't.
Yeah, I'm like someone from Missouri on that one.
Let me go back.
You got to show me.
What the next one should be. Yeah, hang on. I'm gonna bring it up. All right. There we go. So next one, Trump's Christmas gift. Here we go. Because you got to tout this stuff because the media is not going to. Why is it taking so long to come up? So something might have happened to my router. We had a storm here. Trump's Christmas gift to America: a year of U.S. global leadership and peacekeeping. That the globalists are definitely trying to keep going. No lie. Trump's peace through strength approach has reversed Biden-era weakness, restoring deterrence, ending conflicts, and reasserting American leadership at home and abroad. Over the last 11 months, this is American Greatness. It's a good website. Over the last 11 months, there has been a transformation in global security as President Joe Biden's weak and incompetent foreign policy was replaced by that of one of the strongest U.S. presidents in history, Donald Trump. The stability and peace resulting from Trump's strong national security leadership in his greatest Christmas gift to America is his greatest gift. It is almost hard to remember the worldwide chaos and malaise caused by Biden. It's not hard to remember. It was only, a little more than a year ago that we went through that shit, right? America's enemies had a field day exploiting the Biden administration's inept national security policies that prioritize climate change and poorly treated key U.S. allies like Israel and Saudi Arabia. The disastrous U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, ordered by Biden, profoundly undermined American leadership and deterrence. It did. All the bad actors went, wow, we got a moron in the White House. Let's move. Emboldening Putin to invade Ukraine, as well as Hamas to launch its horrific October 7 terrorist attack against Israel. North Korea's tests of a record number of ballistic missiles and a massive surge in Iran's nuclear weapons program resulted from the perception of U.S. weakness under Biden. President Trump was right when he said in his address to the nation this week that he has significantly improved global peace and security during the first year of his second term. We have seen a record number of wars and disputes ended this year. I think it's up to 8 wars this year because of Trump's peace efforts, including conflicts between India and Pakistan, Rwanda and Congo, Cambodia and Thailand, Armenia and whatever that word is, Serbia and Kosovo, and Egypt and Ethiopia. Ethiopia, how could they? All right. In November 2025, at the urging of Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, Trump announced a new U.S. diplomatic effort to end the vicious civil war in Sudan. President Trump's stubborn determination to stop the fighting in Gaza resulted in his most significant foreign policy victory so far, a 20-point peace plan that won the release of all living Israeli hostages, a ceasefire that is still in place, and a pathway to a permanent peace agreement. It's never going to be permanent. Hamas is once again going to attack. They're going to start their bullshit all over again once they rebuild. Recognition of Trump as the driving force behind this historic peace, and they'll blame the Israelis, plan was apparent at a summit last October in Sharm el-Sheikh to endorse the plan, where 30 world leaders almost fell over each other trying to get FaceTime and photos with Trump. Isn't that amazing? Trump has been, especially while they were doing photos trying to get under Trump. Remember when what was her name? Georgia Maloney. Yeah. Georgia Maloney had to go over and grab Biden's hand and pull, come on, we're over here, because he was wandering off like an old guy that was drunk trying to find a bathroom.
Well, but you know what that was? That was Georgia Maloney taking off her prime minister's hat and putting on her mom hat, going over and rounding up the toddler.
Yeah, exactly. By contrast, Trump created a peace process to end the fighting in this war that did not exist before. His envoys have held dozens of meetings with Russian and Ukrainian officials to negotiate a ceasefire and a permanent settlement. Although Biden refused to talk to Putin after Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022, Trump spoke with the Russian leader by phone at least 8 times this year and held a summit with him in Alaska in August. Unfortunately, Putin has so far defied Trump's diplomatic overreach. President Trump's envoys are currently working to reach a peace deal in the Russia-Ukraine war, similar to the 20-point Gaza plan. And I think it's freaking Zelensky that's holding it up. Because now you see what they're doing in Europe. Now they're all saying, oh, we're going to get like $20 billion to give you for the war effort. What? Just end the fucking war. I mean, come on. Significant progress has been made in convincing Ukrainian President Zelensky to make painful concessions to reach an agreement. He's not going to reach it, although there are still areas where the U.S. and Ukraine disagree, of course, because they want more money. Putin remains the main obstacle to an agreement. He's being a dick, as he is sticking to his demands that Ukraine cannot accept and seems intent on continuing and winning the war. He wants to keep the two areas the Russians living in those Ukraine areas went to Putin before the war and asked, "Will Moscow protect us?" And he said, "Sure." And since that notification went out, Ukraine under Zelensky killed over 10,000 Ukrainians in those two areas. They don't want to talk about that on CNN. Critics of Trump's Ukraine peace efforts should recognize that negotiating an end to the conflict will be difficult and time-consuming. It can't be solved without dialogue and probably will require an extended period of severe economic and energy sanctions against Russia before Putin will start to negotiate in good faith. See, Trump came up with a plan that he's going to mine the minerals in those two regions, okay, in Ukraine. And everybody said, they just want the money for it. No, dipshits. What Trump was doing was saying, look, we need the minerals. We're going to mine them. You're going to get billions of dollars for that to help you rebuild. All right. And it's protection because the United States is going to be there and the Russians will never attack again while Trump is there. Right. While we have American interests over there, it would have ended the war and everybody would have been happy. But I think the Democrats got to Zelensky before he went in to the Oval Office and said, no, you got to demand more money. That's what I think happened. So it's good that people are writing at least that Trump ended all those wars. And yet they're the assholes on the left are the ones that constantly say, he's going to start World War III. No, he's ending all the wars. Just like we said he would. What's that? It takes longer as you get older. Yeah, just like the Epstein files. Right. Exactly. That is why Dan Bongino is leaving. He never got over being forced to lie about the Epstein files. I kept saying he's the only guy, the top guy. There's only two people, Trump and Dan Bongino. But Bongino, I trust more than Trump. And you know how I feel about Trump. But Bongino has credibility for all the years that he's done on his podcast and the service that he did in the Secret Service and as a New York City cop. All right. He has a lot of integrity. He hated having to do that. And he just never got over it. You know, and then any assignment where they asked him to do something that he was just upset with it. You know, what's this? Living in Donbass, region. They identify as Russian, but do you know why, Lou? They identify as Russian because when the Soviet Union took over all those blocks, what they did is they shoved like 10,000 Russians into those cities. They kicked the people out who lived there for generations and said, this belongs to them now. And they did that to Russianize the borders. And now it was 87 years later, right? The wall comes down and the people that lived there originally, they didn't forget. They remembered. And so those Russians were treated pretty poorly because they no longer had the Soviet Union to protect them, which they had all along. The language difference is a dumbass. Bobbity, that's hilarious. Yeah, that is hilarious.
Unknown caller.
Who's that? Is that you?
That's me.
Oh, you going to take your call? Yeah, go ahead. Mute. Hang on. I just got something. Hang on. Here we go. All right. So let me go to the next one. Oh, what the hell is going on? I honestly think that power surge did something. All right. Hold on. There we go. Sorry, guys. So I'm going to do the British one now because this is freaking crazy. And we had the guys that are in that come here and go into 40s streams talking about this, but not about this case, but about this goes on. British man sentenced to 18 months in prison for posting hate speech on social media. Let's hear what the hate speech is. A British court has handed an 18-month prison sentence to a 36-year-old man for 2 social media posts. My God, what an animal, that were viewed a total of 33 times. A case now raising fresh alarms over the United Kingdom's increasingly aggressive hate speech laws, all to protect Muslims who are taking over your fucking land. Okay, that's what kills me with these leaders over there. Laws and the collapsing state of freedom of expression. Luke Yarwood was jailed this week for 2 anti-immigration posts on X, written after a Christmas market car attack in Magdeburg, Germany in December 2024. The supposed crime was online, was what Online Speech UK authorities now classify as racial hatred. Really? During his court case, prosecutors also blasted Yarwood for the extremely unpleasant posts. You can go to prison for extremely unpleasant posts that he wasn't being criminally prosecuted for. His own brother-in-law, with whom he reportedly had an ongoing conflict, reported him to the police. You kidding me? This is what happens when you have globalists in charge of your country. Like under Biden, they created a phone number that you could call to rat people out if they weren't following the COVID rule. I remember during Thanksgiving, they said, well, if you see more than 3 people in someone's house, like if Granny came over with a frickin' pie and there were already 3 people, you were to call the federal government. They just divide people. And you got to wonder why the hell is it money? Like, what are they doing? The conviction comes amid a wave of similar prosecutions, including the recent jailing of 42-year-old Lucy Connolly, the wife of a conservative counselor, over a comment calling for people to set fire to migrant hotels following the South Park attack in 2024. Prosecutors Lindsay told the court that Yarwood's extremely unpleasant posts had the potential to trigger disorder at one of the 3 migrant hotels in Dorset. So in other words, instead of saying, let's get tough on these migrant hotels so that they don't go out and start beating the shit out of people, no, you're going to go after anyone and everyone that puts an extremely unpleasant post online. Are you kidding me? Yarwood's defense countered that the posts were viewed just 33 times and were in reality the impotent rantings of a socially isolated man with no real-world consequences. Judge Jonathan Fuller rejected that argument, calling the post odious and sentencing Yarwood to immediate prison time. Holy shit. The judge insisted the comments were specifically designed to stir up racial hatred and incite violence. What? Court records show Yarwood made 2 posts between December 21, 2024 and January 29, 2025. Amid online speculation that the German attacker was an Islamic extremist. Well, he was, right? Responding to a post about Germans taken to the streets, Yarwood wrote, head for the hotels housing them and burn them to the ground. Another post, and they wrote similar shit about Trump over here, right? Nobody's going to prison for that. Another post in reply to a GB News thread read, I think it's time for the British to gang together, hit the streets, and start the slaughter. Guys are talking that way because that's how guys talk when they notice, when they're in the Bubba effect, okay? When they notice that they're being harmed. And I'm not talking just physically. They're being harmed economically, psychologically. When they look at their government, and their government says, we care more about these assholes that don't even belong here, that came in illegally, right, than we do about you guys that pay the taxes, right? So you're not allowed to say something. I mean, whether he meant it or not, it's speech. So you call him and go, yeah, are you planning to do that? No, okay, goodbye. I had to do it, Violence and murder is the only way now, he wrote. Start off burning every migrant hotel, then head to the MPs' houses in Parliament. We need to take over by force. Now, that's probably the sentence that got him in trouble right there. Prosecutors said additional posts showed a rabid dislike for foreigners, but admitted they could not prosecute those because they did not explicitly incite violence. Dude, I'm sorry. That's just crazy. Examples included one post where Yarwood complained about walking for ages and not hearing a word of English. Well, that is true. And another, you're not allowed to speak the truth. In another post, he criticized asylum seekers outside the hotel staring at young college girls. Well, Don't they have a problem in every country over there that has a lot of Arab men that are raping young girls? Isn't that a problem? Lindsay argued that although the two charged posts had minimal views, Yarwood had other posts in the same period that reached over 800. Wow, 800 whole views. Oh, my God. And that he sometimes replied to accounts like GB News with a much larger reach. One GB News post. So, in other words, if you want to post something to speak your mind, post it on something that hardly anybody goes on, or else your government's going to come after you. And I'll bet that Muslims over there are allowed to say whatever the hell they want. One GB News post he responded to had 1 million views. However, yeah, he responded to. It means he didn't write the post. He responded to it. However, Yarwood's replies to these posts did not reach large numbers, and he was not being charged over them. You're back? Okay, sorry. Didn't know you were back. But we don't need to read anymore. The government over there is nuts. And the problem is that I know, look, I talk to all you guys, and I know, hey, what's up, Paka? Good to see you. And I know you guys are pissed at all that, but there's really not a whole hell of a lot you can do. And that's how we felt under Biden. Like all the crimes that they committed and all the rights that they violated here. And there wasn't really anything we could do because they had the power. Right? And we got guns. We still couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
What's the yawn? What do you say? All right. That just pisses me off when government does not do what they were elected to do, and they go after their own. Think about it. Biden brought in. Now they're saying it's up to 25 million that they brought in. That's the new number now. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's the number that they're citing. I've heard it cited several times now by government officials. And
well, I mean, for a while they were saying 10 million. We knew it was like 10 million plus. It was at least 10 million.
Yeah, well, yeah, but they were talking about. I think it was Trump and JD was the one source that I heard where they both said, yeah, it's 25 million.
Yeah,
and
I
think they would know.
I mean,
yeah, I think
we don't know, but yeah, we know that they were saying 10 million, and now last I heard, maybe it's 25. Last I heard, it was probably more like 20 million.
Yeah, here's a video. This is Tucker on how she married her brother.
Ilhan Omar, who is famous as one of the dumbest, of course, members of Congress. She hates whites, and she just says that.
Our country should be more fearful of white men across our country because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country.
You move to a white country and immediately start attacking white people. How does that work exactly? I don't know, but we tolerate it. We celebrate it. And of course, she's not even here legally. She got here on visa fraud because she married her brother.
Well, hold on. That's not how she got here. Okay. She got here when we got to be honest. Okay. She got here when she was 12. She came with her family. She was a refugee from Kenya, actually. Okay. They had to get out of Somalia because there was a revolution going on. There was a war because the people were killing the communist government for treating them like shit. Right. So they went over to Kenya and lived in a refugee camp. When they came to America, they lied because they didn't tell the Americans, well, my family was the communists in government. And so we had to flee for our lives. So let us in and we'll destroy your country. That's why she married her brother to help him stay here because he had to go to college. And that right there, violating a congresswoman who violated election law and married her brother. She needs to go. They need to denaturalize her and they need to deport her.
But it's worse than that, Rich.
I know.
When they came here, she became a citizen on the basis of her father's citizenship.
Right.
At the age of 17. That's what she's saying now, except if you dig back in the records,
right,
somewhere along the line, her date of birth changed by a year. She was actually in the year that she said that they got their citizenship, the family. She was not a minor. She was 18.
Ilhan.
Right.
She was 18, not 17. So that by itself is
well, when she married her brother, she was still married to someone else. So there's bigamy there as well.
Well, but that's why they were married by a Christian.
Right. I know. They were married by a Christian clergy because they knew that an imam would never marry them, like a legit imam.
And to them, they don't care about what a Christian pastor says.
Well, yeah, that's it. But the reason why they admitted later on, the reason why they did it was because they would have gotten caught because they said that the imam that they knew would have found out that was her brother.
Right.
Because they have all the records and everything. They would have found out.
But the bottom line is what the imam says matters to them. They don't care what the Christians think or say. So for them to get married by a Christian pastor, that's perfect because to them it's just meaningless.
Right.
But yeah, she's committed immigration fraud at least twice.
Oh yeah, she needs to go. We'll get to that one.
Yeah, like I said, show me one of them in handcuffs and I'll start to believe. Right now, I'm still not with a lot of faith.
Well, there's over, I think they are now up to like, what is it? Like 90 people that have been charged and many of them went to prison. The Somalis in her district.
I'm talking about somebody with a recognizable name.
Yeah, but I don't know. We don't have proof yet that she was involved. Although I have heard stories being told on videos that she was the one that taught Somali women how to scam this. See, everything in Somalia, right? I always make a joke out of them, like, like an earthquake happened in Somalia. It was like 20,000 people left homeless, $12 damage. It's like that kind of thing, right? They're so destitute that they're up for scams, right? And so they come here, and it's like, if you're not involved in the scam, they look at you and go, what are you, crazy? Are you nuts? You can get in on this.
Well, it's not a racial thing. It's a cultural thing.
Oh, yeah, exactly. It's nobody, and see, that's the thing. Nobody said, oh, these black people from Somalia. No. It's a cultural thing.
What it's like? It's like when we say, the Japanese kids, they're much smarter than us. No, it's a cultural thing. When the Japanese kids go to school, they come home, they have dinner, and then they spend another 3 hours with their parents at the dinner table going over everything they did in the day.
Well, the Jewish kids do the same thing, but we'll have to talk about that at some other time. All right. So the secret that this is good, a secret that the DNC must never reveal why they lost the 2024 elections. This is really good. Let's see. Let's share it here. Wouldn't let me share this one instead. Okay. So let's go. America has a lot of secrets. The nuclear launch codes, what's going on in Area 51, Bigfoot, why the Denver International Airport seems so odd, whatever happened to D.B. Cooper, and exactly what evidence convinced several U.S. government agencies that the most likely cause of COVID-19 pandemic was a lab leak. And over at the Democratic National Committee, they're locking up the biggest secret of all, why the Democrats lost the 2024 election. They did this big study on it, and they didn't like the results. And we'll get into the actual article because this just gives us the conservative viewpoint of what they're doing about it. In a move that should unleash harsh criticisms and recriminations, the DNC has decided against publicly releasing its long-awaited report on the 2024 election, which could end up protecting key actors inside the party from accountability over the blown but winnable contest. This is no different, right, from when the Democrats, who was it? I always forget her name. Oh, damn it. She was the head of the DNC, the redhead, ugly as a foot, from a congresswoman from Florida, Democrat. Oh, damn. But she literally came out and claimed that the Russians hacked the DNC server in 2020. And then when the FBI went over there and said, look, we want to see your server, she's like, no, we're not going to let you, and we don't have to let you. And they're like, yeah, but you said it was hacked by the Russians. It was, but we're going to get a private company to do it. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Debbie Wasserman, dog, dragon face. Thank you very much, Bobbity. I couldn't think of her name.
Yeah, I couldn't think of it either.
I was just thinking resting bitch face, actually. But what's it called? So she went so far as to say, we are one of the two major political parties in this country, and you would think that the FBI would want to come and check it out, but we heard nothing. Well, the assistant agent in charge, special agent in charge, he went on the air and said she's full of crap. We went to her 4 times and she denied it all 4 times and said that she's going to call a lawyer if we bother her again. And here they got CrowdStrike, if you remember. They hired CrowdStrike, which will give any response written report you want that you're paying them for, right? But they were honest. And it was that they left the Democrats did not, they hid that part of their report. And in fact, when Sean Henry, who was, I think he was CEO of CrowdStrike at the time, who was a protege at the FBI under Robert Mueller, by the way, and kept in touch with him when he went to CrowdStrike. Hey, what's up, Billy? What's going on, brother? Good to see you. And so what happened was, it turns out that they did during the impeachment thing, they did a hearing, and it was that scumbag Adam Schifferbrains, who he was the intelligence committee, so he could do them closed door, and he did when Sean Henry's in there because they asked Sean Henry, like, so you said in your report. Because see, I guess Schiff didn't think any Republican would notice, but the Republican asked, I can't remember who, but he asked. So you said in your report that it was an online breach inside, that the Russians did it, and Sean Henry said, no, we never wrote that in the report, and everybody's like, gasp, what? And he said, no, what we wrote in the report is that the logs showed that the time for the transfer, it had to be something local, so more like a thumb drive, right? And that's what Schiff didn't want to get let out. And so as soon as he adjourned that hearing for the day, he ran like hell to the gaggle of news people to get his version of the story. They lied throughout everything on that. This is unbelievable what they got away with. So the DNC has completed the report after extensive data analysis and hundreds of interviews in all 50 states. But according to a DNC official, the committee determined that releasing it would spark a media frenzy and retrospective finger pointing that could divide the party and distract from its winning streak in recent elections. So in other words, fuck the American people. We care more about our power.
Well, that's all I care about.
Quote, here's our North Star. Does this help us win? DNC Chair Ken Martin said in a statement given to the New Republic, who actually printed what it is, and a handful of other media outlets in advance of its wider release. If the answer is no, it's a distraction from the core mission. You see, the DNC spent a decent amount of time and money on a comprehensive review, and it has decided that the best way to apply the lessons from that review is to not let anyone ever see it. Apparently, the autopsy did not conclude that excessive secrecy at the highest levels of the Democratic Party was the problem. So let's go here, and we will share this instead. This is politics. Dem leaders decide to bury damning report on why Trump won in 2024. See this code of silence. Gotta love it. So it has here, let me make it bigger. It has, in a move that should unleash harsh criticism. Well, we already read that part, but let's get down. Take, for instance, well, let's see, here we go. But if the report is comprehensive in its look at 2024, keeping it secret raises more questions about who specifically inside the Democratic ecosystem will benefit from its remaining under wraps. So in other words, what I think they're going to do is they're going to say, look, we learned a lot, and now we know what we can't let anybody see us do the next time we do it. That's what I think they learned. Take, for instance, the Future Forward Super PAC, which had a budget of hundreds of millions of dollars for the 2024 contest. Well before Election Day, the PAC came under harsh criticism from some Democrats who argued that it hadn't spent sufficient money earlier in the campaign on ads attacking Trump, which may have allowed Trump to rehabilitate himself after his 2020 loss and the January 6th insurrection. Now, think of the mental mind games they have to play with themselves here. They think that because they didn't get enough money from some leftist PAC, super PAC, right, that's why Trump wasn't stopped. It wasn't all the freaking lawfare and shooting him in the head and another guy trying to shoot him at a golf course that did it. No, it wasn't that at all. Other Democrats charged that Future Forward's ad testing model and addiction to traditional TV ads led to anodyne communications, and that it flawed theory of politics its flawed theory of politics caused it to refrain from sufficiently targeting Trump, letting him avoid blame for his first-class disasters on COVID-19 and the economy. Let's face it, guys. I read the report, and you can go up in the National Archives and get it on all the things that the Trump administration did for COVID. It was things that you'd be halfway down the list and go, Joe Biden would have never been able to do that. Hillary Clinton would have never been able to do all that shit, right? And if you think about it, who's really to blame for all the shit that went on? Democrat governors. Everybody shut down, but the Republican governors learned real quick through the help of Ron DeSantis speaking up that you should target the elderly and people with comorbidities, right? Multiple comorbidities. You should target them and the elderly and let everybody else go about their business, right? But the Democrats kept everybody locked down, and they made the most draconian rules, which never voted on. Most of these blue states, they never voted on. Most of these cities, the city council, they never voted on things where you can't go outside. They didn't do that in most of them. And so they wanted to blame Trump for that. This is why they lost, actually, because they thought that they believed the hype, I'm sorry, of the Rob Reiners out there. Sorry, had to say it. There are grounds for thinking the DNC report digs into these problems. According to a DNC official, the analysis found, among other things, that the party didn't invest sufficiently in innovative digital tools, that its digital ads didn't reach young voters. Come on. Young voters were like, you know what? I don't think under the Democrats we're going to ever be able to get a job, raise a family, get married, all that shit. That's what happened. I mean, think about it. Trump had a history already of his first term, right? He had a history of his first term where he kicked ass in the economy. What's up, Linda? Good to see you. And so they then go through 4 years of Biden, warm diarrhea brains Biden. And then they say, oh, we got another shot at Trump. You got to be a complete moron, which is the 10% of the 33% of the Democrats in this country, to believe that Kamala Harris or Biden would have been more of the same and worse would have been better. And they don't want to admit that. That's it in a nutshell. Here's a really
I mean,
fun...
the day she just self-deleted was when she was on that interview and somebody asked her what she would have done different from Biden. And she said she would have done it exactly the same.
She said, I can't really think of anything that I would have done differently. And it's like, wow. And everybody went, oh, she just lost. But we knew she lost long before that.
Yeah, well, that moment and the moment in your backyard when Trump narrowly avoided.
Yeah.
He got, an ear piercing.
Yeah. Crazy, huh? All right. So we're going to bring up this next one, which is a fun story. I'll admit it's going to be fun. Okay.
I like
Milwaukee judge found guilty of felony obstruction in helping undocumented man evade arrest.
Excuse me. Yes.
So, let's see. Judge Hannah Dugan was found guilty of one of two charges. Or at least she was found guilty, right? A Wisconsin judge accused of concealing an undocumented... Why do they got to put ABC? That's why. An illegal alien man to prevent his arrest by immigration authorities, ICE, was found guilty of felony obstruction, according to ABC Milwaukee affiliate WISM, which was in the courtroom for the trial. Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge Hannah Dugan was charged in a 2-count federal indictment that alleges she obstructed official Department of Homeland Security removal proceedings and knowingly concealed the man from immigration authorities at a courthouse in April. Dugan was found guilty of obstructing federal agents and not guilty of concealing an undocumented immigrant from arrest during the courthouse incident. I'd have to read the particulars, but maybe she wasn't of that. Maybe she didn't hide him. She did tell him, though, I read, to go through the back door, and then there's a stairway.
Yeah, I mean, she basically walked him out.
Yeah, almost, yeah.
Almost.
Yeah, the jury reached the mixed verdict after deliberating for approximately 6 hours, which means they knew they were going to convict on Thursday. Dugan, who pleaded not guilty, faces maximum penalty of 5 years in prison. The judge has not yet set a sentencing date.
Okay,
One of
I'll take
Dugan-
your bet. I'll take your bet right now. What's the bet that I bet she's never going to see a day behind bars?
No, I think she will because it's a big story. I think she'll get like maybe 3 months, something like that, maybe, or because she was a judge, maybe they'll give her time served and they'll take away her judgeship. She can't be a judge anymore. She just can't.
I was going to say with a felony conviction, hopefully at the very least this takes away her judgeship.
Right, but see, I don't think the feds do probation unless you cut a deal. And the thing with the feds too is,
I'd like to see her lose her law license.
well, yeah, that's what I want. But the thing about it is, with the feds, if they give you like 10 years, you're doing 10 years. There's no get out for good behavior on a federal sentence. Because I remember Bongino one time said, because Secret Service doesn't just protect, dignitaries and politicians, right? They're treasury agents, right? So they do a lot of treasury crimes, stealing money, counterfeit money, all that shit. And so it turns out that he said he had two young punks in the backseat of their vehicle. They had just arrested them. And they were laughing, saying, "Oh man, we're going to be out before you guys finish your paperwork and all that shit." And he said, and Dan was in the passenger seat up front, and he just turned around and he smiled at him. They go, "What you laughing at?" And he goes, "You don't really know, do you?" And they're like, "What?" And he goes, "We're Secret Service." And he said, the one guy pissed himself, and the other guy's eyes like widened. He said, and like I'm like, "Well, why?" And that's when he said, when you get sentenced in federal court, you do the whole sentence. There's no off for good behavior. So the same elements of count one are in count two. In count two, how can you find guilty there and not guilty in the first? The lawyer said, but that's why we asked for a post-trial briefing. The case is a long way from over, he added. You know what? So in other words, well, the jury ruled this way, and we're going to try to get everything we can out of it. It should be, well, the jury ruled, and fuck you. That's how the jury ruled. So if you want to file an appeal, find something that you think was a reversible action and go. You can't say that the jury, the way they ruled, guilty on one, not guilty on the other. It doesn't matter if they're saying that they overlap, that the evidence was overlapped. It doesn't matter.
And I don't know what happened to the judge at the end of the guilty judge at the end of the courtroom drama, but I know if it was you or I, once the verdict was in,
yeah,
the bailiff leads you away in handcuffs.
Yeah.
You're going to jail at that point.
Yeah, well, I think she was out on bail, but
but once they find you guilty, the bail is revoked. They take you from the courtroom.
No, I don't think the feds do that. I know county and shit and state shit, but I don't think the feds do that.
No, because I know county and state do. I can't promise.
Especially if it was a judge, they're going to give her the benefit of the doubt but you know what? Think about it this way. Even if she gets no time, we got an illegal alien loving judge off the bench.
We win. As she gets thrown off the bench,
we win. She can't be a federal judge anymore. You know what? Let me say this. The first thing they teach you at Quantico for federal agents for the FBI, you know what it is? Never get caught lying. You know why? You can never again be a witness in court. And when you arrest somebody, you're always going to be a witness if there's a trial, right? They always get the arresting agents to go in as a trial. If you got caught lying, then the defense attorney is going to bring it up. Oh, weren't you the agent that got caught lying in that other case? And you just tainted the jury. So they say it's a fireable offense if you get caught lying. And I remember that because that was when the woman that teaches that at Quantico, she had to come forward and testify because they were getting rid of who was it? Andrew McCabe, the deputy FBI director under Comey, because he lied to other FBI agents when they asked him, "Did you leak information to the press?" And here Comey knew that he leaked it and let him get away with it, but he got caught because other people said, "Yeah, he knew. I was in the room." So he leaked it, right? He got caught leaking, and you can't leak because that's a felony right there. So that's how I knew that. Anyway, prosecutors say that after speaking to the agents, Dugan directed them to the chief judge's office down the hall, and then sent Flores Ruiz and his attorney. I did a video on this, on his attorney out a non-public door in an alleged attempt to help him evade arrest on immigration. And I remember 2 of the agents were outside and saw him coming out and chased him down the street, and one tackled him to the ground. That's how they got him. But good. I hope she loses. Well, she's got to lose her chair, the bench seat. She has to lose that.
Yeah,
There
one
you
would
go.
think.
Yeah, I think isn't Adam Walsh back on? He's doing the other show, not Cops, but I heard today that Adam Walsh, like, he's doing America's Most Wanted again, but he's like so old that they're probably going to replace him. That just made me remember that. How far from the ground of the bench they throw her off? 10,000 feet. Yeah.
Hey, do you want to break for a moment?
Well, I was going to, at 7:00 hour, I was going to play my son's song because I told him to watch. So let me do that, and then we could do your moment. All right.
Okay.
All right, guys. This is a song my son put out yesterday, and I helped him with the artwork. But it's a Christmas song, and he like everybody said, you want to do a Christmas song, so he said, all right, fine. So we did Deck the Halls, and it's rap, but I think it's really good, but I'm biased. But I'll bring that up. Hang on. Here it is. It's called Decking Santa. There we go. Let's bring it up. All right, here we go.
Hey man, I'm Richie Valor, and I appreciate every one of y'all in my life. Y'all wanted a Christmas song, so I put a little twist to it. I hope you enjoy. So that being said, Merry Christmas and have a Happy New Year. Hey, I'm decking the halls, waiting for cars, I'm smoking a bit. I know that I'm not on the good, yeah, I'm talking a list. I'm not really nice for most of the year, I had bows on my neck. I know that he's bringing me coal, a fat one was talking, I called her a bitch. We'll sit and we'll chat, I started up saying I ain't bringing the nog, I'm pouring a fifth. Sit him down, wait for a bit, yeah. Surprise him at 5 and tell him the cookies are made with a zip. Grabbing JT and he filming the clip, we tell him the missus is getting the pick if you don't put us back on the list. Sit him down, yeah, watch him glitch. I'm calling this girl, she up on the pole, she laughing and screaming, it is what it is. He pull out the switch, we look at each other, we knew it was him. He strapped at the bolts, I'm ready to do. The story's a ploy, so I could be singing the carols to you. Deck the halls with boughs of holly, la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, la 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 la. Don't me now, I gave you a barrel, la la. Drew the ancient Yuletide carol, la 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 la. From the Valor family to y'all, man. Merry Christmas. I love y'all. Let's go.
Yeah, I just thought that song was pretty good because I'm into rap, but it's got to be good rap. But I just thought that was good. Anyway, so you want to do a moment?
Sure.
You got a moment?
I've got.
It's a Dr. Jade moment.
Sorry about that. I cut you off. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is just a short observation. This is like really cool. I don't know, something like 3 weeks ago, we looked outside, there was like all these birds all of a sudden. And I mean like a ton of birds, like Alfred Hitchcock movie, ton of birds. And I saw a lot of robins and a bunch of them that I didn't recognize. And then you look at them and you notice they're like flying all like weird, and they're in the tree and they're dropping down onto the ground. They're kind of flying, but they're doing weird patterns. They're jumping on the ground, then they're going back in the tree. And then it occurred to us that there was a bunch of fruit that came off of this decorative pear tree, and it was probably just about the right temperature. And these birds were down there eating fermented fruit. The birds were drunk. And So I went looking for it. Go ahead and share my screen.
Let me see. There you go.
And it's a real thing.
No shit. Can you play it? Oh, I thought you got frozen there for a second. What are we looking at? Jade, what are we looking at?
Oh, you're not seeing it.
No, we're not seeing anything. We see a page, we don't see a video. We don't see
Okay,
it.
it did go over to the. Okay, let me do. Okay,
Yeah, we see the page. There's a bird and there's a video, but we don't see any
let me
movement.
share. Let me share it again.
All right, I'll remove. You share again, I guess. Go ahead. Drunk birds.
Okay, this is the second one.
All right, go ahead.
Drunk off his right now. So, interesting fact, the cedar waxwing likes to eat berries and things off of trees. Problem being in the southeast, in the wintertime, the sugar in the berries concentrates, and then when the weather warms up, it breaks the sugar down, fermenting the sugars, turning it into alcohol. Notice that the bird is just chilling and hanging out with a berry in his mouth.
That's an interesting looking bird.
Is drunk off his right now.
That is one drunk bird.
Yeah.
So, interesting fact, the cedar.
That is one drunk bird. And
You got another one?
yeah.
Go ahead. That's pretty crazy. Here we go.
Okay, I don't know if. Yeah, this should work.
Ever wondered what happens to sunflowers after harvest? Birds often perch on the drooping heads, seemingly taking a nap. But they're not sleeping. They're drunk. Leftover seeds can ferment in the sun, producing alcohol. These tipsy birds become slow and drowsy, sometimes even letting people touch them.
That's crazy, man.
I mean, it was so funny to see these birds. Like, let's see if I can find one flying.
Police officer, you may occasionally have to deal with intoxicated people, but you don't expect to have to handle drunk birds.
But that is exactly what police in northern Minnesota have been dealing with. A park ranger says drunk birds are actually very common, as the sugars from some fruits can turn to alcohol as the fruits lose moisture. So in this case, the department believes the birds are getting tipsy from eating fermented berries caused by an early frost.
Well, look at it this way. They're not getting behind a wheel, so the roads are safe. And
That's what I had for tonight. That's what I've got.
That's
folks.
actually
Yeah,
kind of funny when you think about it.
I thought it was hilarious because when we looked out there and it was, an Alfred Hitchcock movie all of a sudden, but like, wait a minute, these birds are acting like all weird and so anyway, I thought it was pretty hilarious.
That's good.
And that's what I had to show you guys. I hope you enjoyed the thought as much as I did.
I did. Absolutely. Here we go.
It's a Dr. Jade moment.
All right. So I got another video. Ilhan Omar humiliated. When I see that, I'm like, I have to play that right away. I am biased in that sense. So here we go. So this is Ilhan Omar humiliated in Congress after she tried playing the victim. Lisa McClain destroys her. Here we go.
So Ilhan Omar goes in front of Congress and tries playing the victim on how she's an immigrant and she's treated badly. But wait till you hear what Congresswoman Lisa McClain has to say in response. It is absolutely priceless.
Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those in favor say no.
Those in favor say no?
It's the opinion of It's the opinion of the chair that the
Ayes
ayes
have it.
have it,
I
and
love
the
it.
resolution is agreed to. And without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
This debate today, it's about who gets to be an American. What opinions do we have to have to be counted as Americans? This is what this debate is about, Madam Speaker. There is this
I just get like nauseous when I hear her voice.
idea that you are a suspect if you are an immigrant, or if you are from certain parts of the world, or a certain skin tone, or a Muslim. It is no accident that members of the Republican Party accused the first Black president, Barack Obama, of being a secret Muslim. Well, I am Muslim. I am an immigrant, and interestingly, from Africa.
From a shithole.
Is anyone surprised that I am being targeted? Is anyone surprised that I am somehow deemed unworthy to speak about American foreign policy?
She got bald.
Or that they see me as a powerful voice that needs to be silenced? Frankly, it is expected.
Today, we're diving straight into one of the most intense congressional showdowns we've seen lately, a fiery exchange that put identity, law, and the Constitution head to head.
I think the guy that was sitting next to her was Kwesi Mfume. There's a name for you. He's a representative, I believe, out of Maryland, but he was the head of the NAACP at one point. And whenever you're the head of the NAACP, for the rest of your life, whenever you give a speech, you have to look angry as hell. So it was interesting to see him.
The center of it all, Representative Ilhan Omar, who came out swinging with bold accusations, but it didn't end the way she may have hoped. Let's break this all down into 10 key moments that tell the real story and expose the deeper battle going on behind the headlines. Ilhan Omar started off by painting herself as a victim of racism, of Islamophobia, and of political targeting.
Gentleman reserves. Gentlelady from Michigan is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And to use that logic, well, then all those people should have just said sorry and we'd move on, right? But no, we don't do that. And let me tell you, I take a little bit of offense to what the hell is wrong with me. I'll tell you, there's nothing wrong with me. I took an oath to defend the Constitution, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Again, I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm going to hold the Constitution, and it's very simple. We really shouldn't even have this debate. If you break the law and you follow due process, there are consequences to your actions, even if you say sorry. So we can try all of the diversion tactics that we would like. It doesn't change the fact that someone broke the law and that someone should be held accountable. It is disappointing, Mr. Speaker, that their own party can't hold them accountable, that they have such hypocrisy. So with that, I yield 2 minutes to my friend from New York, Nicole Meliatakis.
Gentlewoman from New York is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've heard from my colleagues the reasons why the Representative Omar should be removed from this committee. But I feel like all the reasons have not just yet been stated, which is why I rise to add for the record. We've heard about the comments that were made regarding anti-Semitism and anti-Israeli views. But I rise to add to the record that as a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, I've sat there and heard the representative actually spew anti-American rhetoric as well. I've been in that committee room where the representative equates Israel and the United States to Hamas and the Taliban. Absolutely unacceptable for a member of that committee.
Right.
I've also heard the representative equate that it is the United States' fault that there is turmoil in Venezuela. That is not because of the oppressive socialist and communism that has spread throughout Central and South America and Venezuela at the hands of the Maduro and Hugo Chavez regimes. That is unacceptable. And as a New York representative, to hear the representative
Here we go.
belittle, to try to diminish the worst terrorist attack on United States soil.
Some people did something. That's what she said about 9/11.
September 11, 2001, as some people did something, that is unacceptable as well. And I hold the same standard for this side of the aisle that I do the other, because when another colleague on my side said something about 9/11, I also voted to have her removed from the Education Committee because I thought that was inappropriate. So I'm being consistent here, and I hope my colleagues will do the same to show that this is about consistency and accountability, because we should not have an individual with those views on the committee that is tasked with representing our country and our Congress to foreign nations. I yield back.
99.9.
Nice. That was the best part. You gotta love it, because I think Ilhan's days are numbered now.
Yeah, and,
really
and
do.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, you were right. You're right, Chris. Now, first thing, I was horrified when I heard that he and his wife were murdered. I was absolutely horrified. And the first thing that came to mind was there's going to be some jackass so-called conservative who's not well known. You know, nobody knows who the hell the person. It's just a regular person that's going to say something nasty, and they're going to go, "Oh, that's the guy. Look, the conservatives are doing the same thing that we did to Charlie Kirk," and that's exactly what happened. There was some jackass who made like a joke about it or said something, and they all pointed to that. And I watched the video of it. Josiah Rises. I watched him, and he pointed out. And he's like, "Hey guys, look at this. Everybody's talking about this one guy who nobody even knows who it is." He goes, and they're saying, "Oh, you guys, you conservatives are just despicable." When with Charlie Kirk, I mean, they were dancing, celebrating. Now, I had heard something else that he was outside of his politics, that he was like the nicest guy on the planet. I'll give him props on his movies. Who would have thought the meathead that got a job because his father said, "Give the kid a job," and he got the meathead role, right? Who would have thought he would go on to be one of the best directors for movies that we ever had? And I mean, you can't take that away. He did great movies, right? But they say on the politics part, I mean, he was TDS level 11. I mean, easy. I mean, he may have been a 13. I don't know, Jade. What do you think? I mean, he was up there.
Yeah,
You're the doctor.
He's like one of the ones that extended our belief, because we had never seen, anything above level 9
right
in the wild.
I know.
And you get somebody like him, and you get somebody like, what's her name? That Rosie, what's her name? Moved to Ireland.
Yeah.
Well,
see, the reason I said level 11 is because there was an inside joke. He did the movie This Is Spinal Tap, and Nigel Tufnell said these go to 11. Remember? So that's why I did 11. But go ahead.
Yeah, no. I mean, these are people that pushed our belief of TDS.
Yeah.
And to seeing, I mean, they were definitely, level 10 plus, both of them.
Well, Linda wants to know what actually happened. What we have so far, and this is from TMZ that does a better job than CNN. So what we have so far is they were at a party, the whole family, and the son got in an argument with his father. And so it got so bad that they left. Yeah, truth derangement syndrome. That's right, Bobby. It got so bad that they had to leave the party, right? And so I'm assuming that they went off on the son and said, "You know what? We put up with your bullshit for long enough, and we're cutting you off," because he was a drug addict. Like most of his adult life, he was a drug addict, and he did work with his father too. Like he did some things with his father. And then he tried to do like his own sort of Spinal Tap, like a documentary type thing, but it wasn't. And it plummeted. It failed. But what they're saying is that they believe that so far, this is what I've heard. I don't know if any of this is true, but that they had a blowout, and he said to him, whether it was on the phone or at the house, that he said to him, you're out of here. I don't want to see you anymore. I've had it enough. Enough is enough. They reached that point, and a lot of parents with drug addict kids, they reach that point. And then he just came over to the house because they have video of him walking towards the house, like the gas station. They saw him on the gas station thing at the time, and he killed them both and slit their throats. And apparently, the mother was found in a different part of the house than Rob Reiner. So pretty messed up. And I'm going to say this. Reiner said some of the most god-awful things about Trump, the lies, just the accusations, that the way he said it, just freaking horrible. But I still don't think he deserved that. I just want to go on record. He was the meathead. He was a pure, total meathead. But he and especially the wife, they did not deserve that, to go that way. I just didn't think. Yeah, tough love. I just didn't think so. Rob Reiner calls Trump evil at every time. He did. Yeah, over the drug pipelines and all that. Trump worked to shut. You're absolutely right, Chris. Thank you.
Yeah, and they criticize Trump for saying this, that, and the other, and they spent 10 years calling him a Nazi and calling his followers garbage.
Yeah.
And
what's up, Chris? Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they did. He has James Woods is the one. That was it. James Woods told the great story about the meathead. He said Rob treated him well and that he was a very good friend. And you don't get much more Republican. I love James Woods. But James Woods was the one that I heard through TMZ. And he said he was the nicest guy around. You know who else I heard was the nicest person to the staff and all that? You won't believe Rachel Maddow. That she used to buy them all gifts for Christmas and their birthdays, and she would take them out like every like Friday when the show's over. She'd take them all out. They go drink, and she bought dinner, everything. Like, she was really nice, and she was the biggest a-hole politically on the air, and the biggest
nice
liar. And
nice to know she had at least one redeeming feature.
Yes, yeah, that was her redeeming feature. Yeah.
It's the opposite of Ellen. You've heard of the Ellen story.
Yeah, I heard that.
Ellen DeGeneres. I guess she was hell on wheels to her staff. She was like, it was bad.
Yeah. Well, that's why they came out against her in the end, and she moved out of the country, I think.
Yeah, and then Trump she came back.
Yeah, she came back.
She moved to Spain or something with her girlfriend.
Yeah, isn't that horrific? So I'm going to say something about we're going to do one now about my senator. Let's see. So as Democrats' narrative on Trump administration randomly shooting boats was sunk by one of their own. So here you go. Senator John Fetterman addressed concerns about U.S. military operations near Venezuela during an exchange with broadcaster Chris Cuomo. And you know what? Fredo, have you been watching him on Next News? Or News Nation? I'm sorry, News Nation?
Yeah, I've seen some takes of it, but I don't follow him.
He's not crazy Fredo anymore.
He actually asks
real questions.
Some very good. And do you remember that whole thing when he came out about, I think, was it the first assassination attempt?
Yeah. He came out and asked all those questions and he basically debunked the narrative.
Yeah, and he came out and he said, wait a minute. I'm a Democrat. This is not what Democrats are supposed to be about.
Yeah, but they are, and he knows that.
You and I know that. But
yeah, I'm gonna.
Yeah, but he laid it on thick then.
Right.
And now he's asking very good questions.
Right. So here we are. So he says, all right, let me start over. Senator John Fetterman addressed concerns about U.S. military operations near Venezuela during an exchange with broadcaster Chris Cuomo, rejecting claims circulating in the media that American forces are indiscriminately targeting boats in the region. They're not allowed to do that. They don't have command to do just that. Unless they're given command to do that. If they're in a war situation, the discussion focused on recent reporting and commentary suggesting the United States could be sliding into a broader or prolonged military engagement involving Venezuela. We could take that country in probably 2 days, particularly through naval or aerial strikes against vessels suspected of narcotics trafficking. Cuomo asked Fetterman directly what information reassured him that the situation was not escalating into an extended conflict. Quote, "What did you learn, Senator, that gave you any comfort that we're not heading into some kind of extended a military exercise around Venezuela or in Venezuela. Fetterman responded by describing what he characterized as a detailed and intelligence-driven operational process used by the U.S. military. He said claims that the military is randomly attacking boats are inaccurate and not supported by the information he reviewed. He just lost all PAC money for his reelection. Yeah, but if he keeps going, he may get reelected in Pennsylvania. I won't vote for him, but unless we get like a real rhino, like a Romney rhino. Yeah, he said, yeah, absolutely. I thought it was pretty comprehensive, Fetterman said. And this idea, some things out in the media, it's kind of putting out that the military is just picking off, any boat that comes across. That's just not true. Fetterman said U.S. forces rely on extensive intelligence before taking any kinetic action, including confirming the identities of individuals on board and the nature of the cargo being transported. See, they're using the one where they hit the boat, it capsized with the explosion, and there were two guys that were still clinging to it, and another strike happened. They're trying to get rid of Pete Hegseth, saying that he called for the death shot. And they got an admiral in there who had to testify to Congress, say, no, the defense secretary did no such thing. Can I go now? It was like that kind of thing. He wrote, so he added that military commanders frequently choose not to engage, even when vessels are under surveillance, reinforcing his claim that action is taken only when there is a high level of certainty. Quote, and it's quite frequently they decline to take it and to move on those things, he said. So according to Fetterman, when strikes do occur, they are based on what he described as absolute confidence in the target's involvement in criminal activity, including narcotics trafficking tied to Venezuelan networks. Quote, when they move on those kinetic kinds of strikes, they have absolute confidence that who's on it and what's on it. And that's exactly what it's about. But, the left doesn't give a shit. Like the left right now, it's one thing if Trump really screwed up, like if their political enemies really screwed up. By all means, it's open season. Say what you will, right? But they take something and they just go off. Hey, what's up, girlfriend? How you doing, Pam? And so they just go off and anything to trash Trump, even though it could cause a lot of animosity among people, among Americans, especially like Venezuelan Americans, right? It's crazy. In other words, they don't give a shit. Let's see what else we got here. Let me start doing some videos. Let's see what else we got. The Caribbean, Trump seeks it. The ship. Yeah. Oh, we got to do this one. Okay. There we go. This is Jasmine Crockett. Bombshell report. Crockett charged with assaulting a police officer in 2022. Look what she did. I don't even know if that's her. Loudmouth Texas Democrat announces U.S. Senate run after taking money from Jeffrey Epstein. So she's out there bitching about Jeffrey Epstein she took money from. Jasmine Crockett launched her campaign for U.S. Senate on Monday, several weeks after receiving a donation from a bank account tied to Jeffrey Epstein. He's dead and he's still paying her. The Congresswoman from Texas, she's losing her seat because of the redistricting. The Congresswoman from Texas, widely regarded as one of the Democratic Party's most talented and erudite politicians, I would say most loudmouth liars and race baiter, will try her luck in the primary against State Representative James Tallarico after failed candidate Colin Allred dropped out at Crockett's urging. As Crockett prepared to make her announcement, the Washington Free Beacon gave our team of unpaid interns 20 minutes to scour the internet for information about the candidate. What they found could prove devastating to her campaign, even though we have yet to verify any of it. It remains to be seen whether these potentially bombshell revelations will hamper her quest to defeat Tallarico, a Harvard-educated theology student who follows porn stars on social media and once declared that God is non-binary. Whew. Okay, according to Google, the popular online search engine, like who doesn't know that? A woman named Jay Crockett was charged with assault after kicking a police officer in the face while resisting arrest in 2022. Local news reports identified the perpetrator as Jessica Crockett, but also referred to her as Crockett, suggesting the woman's first name. So it's not her. So why are we reading a story about it? The incident appears to have taken place.
Well, this would seem to me to be a kind of response to when she started reading the list of everybody who got donations from Jeffrey Epstein, who happened to be a neurosurgeon in New York.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, and I remember the guy's on the he's on the Trump team now. And he replied and said it was a medical thing. He goes, it has absolutely no relation, you idiot.
Yeah, I'm wondering if this is a reaction to that.
It probably is. I'm going to stop because it doesn't. She's an animal, is what she is.
Well, and you know what's worse than being ghetto?
Yeah,
is being fake ghetto.
Yeah, she is fake because we saw her as an attorney. There's video of her in court.
Yeah,
and she knows how to behave herself.
And there's video of her as a state rep, and she's actually speaking normally.
Yeah.
Like a person, like a human being.
Here we go. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, what's worse than ghetto? Fake ghetto.
Yeah, I know. Here we go. Here's a video of Reiner. Let me see. Where is it? Hold on. There it is. Okay, ready? This is from Variety on Trump.
In my mind, America has entered into a couple of major foreign policy blunders in my lifetime. One was the Vietnam War, and then to me, the biggest single foreign policy disaster was the invasion of Iraq. And I was against that war, and those of us who knew the truth of why we were going to war at that point were fighting very hard to get that truth out. And that's what the film is about. It's about these journalists who fight very hard to inform the public as to the lies that were perpetrated on the American people by the Bush administration. And to a large extent, the mainstream media went along with it. And how difficult it was. And so
there, don't worry.
Hopefully, the people in the Middle East will, at least they'll feel that there's somebody in America who is trying to shine a light on the truth of what happened and why we got and how we got into Iraq.
It's not too long.
Right now, American journalism is under attack. By Donald Trump and the propaganda.
Donald Trump gave more access to the office of the president than any other president in my lifetime. He's always talking to them, always. But he called them fake news when they were fake news. So that's not attacking. Plus, the press, under the First Amendment, the press does not have a legal right to access to the president or the White House. It's just not there. The First Amendment, the protection of the freedom of the press, just says we're not going to arrest you and jail you for things that you report. That's it.
And he's attacking them because of the slander.
Yeah, the slander, libel and slander.
Libel and slander that they put out.
Yeah.
And this is attacking freedom of the press.
Yeah, it's not. It's not.
Arm of his administration, which is represented by Fox News, by Breitbart, by Sinclair News.
Remember when this was going on, Barack Obama was already outed for being responsible for Crossfire Hurricane, for all the shit they did to Trump's campaign. And then after he was elected, but still in president-elect mode, and then continuing it with the FBI POSs and the intel people while he was president. But he won't say anything about that, right? Trump never did anything even remotely like that. And yet he's going on that Trump's this and that, and he never brings up examples.
And a number of other outlets. This is the first time in American history that administrations who have always trafficked in propaganda to try to get a policy sold to the American people or try to make a case to go to war. This is the first time that the press, that a big chunk of the American press is not doing their job, which is to hold an administration accountable.
Wait a minute. Wait. You got Fox News, and you have, who's the other one? The New York Post, and we're talking the press, right? Fox News, New York Post, and I mean, who else is there? Every other network is left wing. I mean, One American News, but nobody knows who they are. They are the best, but nobody knows who they are. Right? Newsmax, okay, they're up and coming now. They got about as much as CNN now, right? So who the hell is he talking about? The press is just not holding him account. Are you shitting me, Rob? I mean, think about it. They lied so much about him. They lied so much that people tried to kill him because of their lies. So this is the kind of stuff. This is why they say, yeah, he had serious TDS.
This is the first time that you've got these major outlets that are actually serving as propaganda for an American president. And that is very scary. So mainstream media is under attack. There's no question about that. And this film hopefully will show why we need to have a free and independent press. If democracy is going to survive in any way, shape, or form, one of the main pillars of that is a free and independent press. And that's what this film is about.
If I'm going to make a run in
Are you kidding me? Holy crap.
Yeah.
So he doesn't mention that Barack Obama actually had a Fox News reporter who's no longer with Fox. I think he's with CBS now. Had a Fox News reporter arrested for things that he reported on. All right. He told Fox News in the beginning of his first term that you're out of the press pool because you're not a real news organization. And to their credit, all the fake news. Now remember, they weren't that they were liberal journalists. They weren't fake news yet. Right? Because that took Trump to be elected. Well, Trump to run for office when they became pure fake news. But to their credit, they all said, well, look, if Fox is out, we're out. And so Obama had to give in. But they didn't report on that too much because, they didn't want to because they liked Obama. He shit rainbows and ice cream.
And legacy media didn't cover for Joe, didn't cover for Kamala.
Right. Like, oh my God, the lies. And think about it. Barack Obama murdered U.S. citizens with drone strikes who never had a charge thrown at him, right? He murdered them and they covered for him. That just kills me that they get away with this. Man. Let's see. Let's do the Susie Wiles story. Okay, here we go. Susie Wiles. So I used to be in Facebook groups fighting the lib nuts with her brother, Kyle. Right? With her brother. Hold on. Do I have another story for that? Let me see. Who is it? Seriously? I thought I had a better one.
Well, while you're looking for that,
No, I got it.
The only thing I have to say is that, I think I may have said this earlier, or I may have said it to you before we started the stream. She's in a position of making a lot of high intensity decisions. This was not a good decision. And you could argue that her decision making is called into question because of this.
No, not at all. No, not because of that. I don't believe that at all. I have to disagree with you.
Yeah. I mean, we can agree to disagree on that one, but
right. Look,
to me,
I'll give you this. Okay. You never, if you're a conservative, I mean, you never go to Vanity Fair.
Right.
They are worse. They are worse than the New York Times probably as bad as the Daily Beast, but those people were fucking nuts. But they're worse than Politico.
Yeah, and that was a decision that I could argue was a fatal flaw.
What I think, yeah, it was. I'll give you that, but I don't question her judgment, because what she was trying, she even says, what she was trying to do is to put a better face on Trump and to explain to them, in the belly of the beast, to explain to them.
She knows better than that. She should know better than that.
I don't know.
Judgment, poor, very poor.
I mean, what we're arguing here is, we're arguing that she's at fault because a libnut crazy man who wrote the story.
I'm arguing that she made a bad decision to go there.
Right, but we're saying that exactly. But what we're really saying is that we're not holding Vanity Fair because they lied. They freaking lied.
Yeah. No, that's separate.
Guys,
that's separate.
Well, no, it's all built in.
Yeah, but that's the actual story that was done is separate, and they should be like fucking sued for it, I guess.
Right. Well, they should be. Here, guys, the overall part that we're talking about is the guy. Now, I said earlier, I don't know if I think I did, where I talked about, I listened to Mike Slater, and he said the guy's nuts, right? Total, he's at level 11 TDS. But here, she answered a question and said that, Trump works all the time. And they came out and said that they never said this to her. As a matter of fact, the New York Times picked up the Vanity piece and they went with it and they said, well, that's the behavior of an alcoholic. And then they went on, like they jumped from there, like, yeah, so this kind of behavior here and there, that's the definite behavior of an alcoholic, right? Just to trash Trump. And so she never said anything remotely like it. So I don't hold her responsible because they just completely manufactured something. Now the thing I do hold her for is that, well, Trump should have said to her, only do the interviews, because she gave them 11. Only do the interviews if we have our own film crew there, because that's what Trump does now. He's like, I won't do an interview, and like he laughed when Sean Hannity asked him, so what do they do? He goes, they always give in. He goes, because they need me more than I need them. He goes, I could come here with you. He goes, I don't need them, like CBS 60 Minutes. He goes, so I bring my own camera because they lie so much about me. And they edit things out that I want the full tape. Now she didn't do that. If she'd have done that, they wouldn't have pulled this shit. So let me get into this story. White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles blasted Vanity Fair on Tuesday for its disingenuously framed hit piece, which she says omitted crucial context. Exactly. That's what they're known for. Wiles took to X on Tuesday morning to push back on Vanity Fair contributor Chris Whipple's piece. He's a nut. All right. A roughly 30-minute read as top White House officials are publicly reaffirming their support for Wiles after its publication. It was a hit piece. So she writes, the article published early this morning is a disingenuously framed hit piece on me and the finest president, White House staff, and cabinet in history. Significant let me pull the whole thing up. So let's go. Significant context was disregarded, and much of what I and others said about the team and the president was left out of the story. I assume after reading it that this was done to paint an overwhelmingly chaotic and negative narrative about the president and our team.
No kidding.
The truth is the Trump White House has already accomplished more in 11 months than any other president has accomplished in 8 years. That is true. And that is due to the unmatched leadership and vision of President Trump, for whom I have been honored to work for the better part of a decade. Please don't fire me, Mr. Trump. Oh, she didn't write that. None of this will stop our relentless pursuit of making America great again. And I believe it, right? So I don't want to hold her responsible totally for this.
No, not at all.
She wrote,
not
the
at all.
article published early this morning is she said that. Wiles said that Whipple ignored critical context and statements from herself and others. So she declared that none of this will stop us. Right. But Whipple leads early in the article with an apparent attempt to sow division between Wiles and top White House and cabinet officials, including the president himself, with cherry-picked quotes from her statements. For example, Whipple writes early on that Wiles stated Trump has an alcoholic's personality. She never said that. But the full quote, buried 14 paragraphs, expands that to say Trump acts with the confidence that he can achieve anything through determination. So now they write that it's some clinical psychologist that knows 1 million times more than I do will dispute what I'm going to say. But high-functioning alcoholics or alcoholics in general, their personalities are exaggerated when they drink. And so I'm a little bit of an expert in big personalities. Now, Wiles said Trump has an alcoholic's personality. Wait for it. He operates with a view that there's nothing he can't do, nothing, zero, nothing. Well, Whipple also quotes Wiles as calling Director of the Office of Management and Budget, Ross Vaught, a right-wing absolute zealot, which he's not, but provides no further context on the quote and does not mention Vaught again in the article. Vaught joined other White House officials to voice his full support of Wiles on Tuesday. So here's what he's the guy, I'm going to bring this up. He's the guy that when they had the shutdown, Trump fell for this, okay? Or not Trump, I'm sorry. Trump nailed the Democrats with this. When they had the shutdown, okay, after so many days of the shutdown, then this guy, Russ Vaught, became the law. So he was now in charge of policy, and he could say what was shut down and what wasn't. And so they started shutting down favorite Democrat things just to prove a point. Because Barack Obama did that during his term, but he sent a memo out saying, shut these down and make it hurt. He literally did that because they were trying to blame the Republicans for it. So Vaught writes, Susie Wiles is an exceptional chief of staff. I have had the privilege of working with President Trump's White House for every single minute of his 2 terms. Let me be very clear. It has never worked this well or been more oriented towards accomplishing what he wants to accomplish. In my portfolio, she is always an ally in helping me deliver for the president. And this hit piece will not slow us down. So let's go back to it. So he said that, White House. Let me be very clear. It is never. All right. So we already did that. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt so in other words, they're circling the wagons, but for reason, emphasized in her posts on X that the entire administration backs her. So she says, is there another? Yeah, good. We can get it all. Chief of Staff Susie Wiles has helped President Trump achieve most successful first 11 months in office of any president in American history. Yeah, because your chief of staff has to handle all the crazy shit. President Trump has no greater or more loyal advisor than Susie. The entire administration is grateful for her steady leadership. And it does have a show more. We don't have to. Here you go. Donald Trump Jr. Susie Wiles is by far the most effective and trustworthy chief of staff that my father has ever had. And he's talking about also in corporations, right? So when Susie took over my father's political operation after J6, people forget how many Republicans were treating him like a pariah. Countless operatives, consultants, and countless operatives, consultants, and elected Republicans thought my dad's political career was over and wanted nothing to do with him. They attacked him ruthlessly and predicted that he would lose if he ran for office in 2024. Not Susie. She was a loyal fighter for him from the moment she came on board. See, they're writing this stuff because this Wiggles guy, Whipple, he was trying to say that she was trashing the president. That's what he was trying to get across. And it was a lie. And the New York Times gave more voice to it because they picked up the piece and ran with it. When things were tough and other supposed friends left my dad like a bunch of rats, Susie stood by his side and worked her ass off every day to rebuild his political operation and ensure that his comeback in 2024 would be successful. When others cowered, she stood strong. Now think about this, guys. His first campaign manager who won in 2016, right, was a woman, Caroline, right? Or what was her name? Carolyn, or shit. Now I can't remember her name. But she never got credit for it. The first woman to win a presidential race, right? And she never got credit for it. But they say he doesn't like strong women around him.
Yeah.
Right. So he writes, one of the other things I've always appreciated about Susie is how she has never tried to subvert my father's America First policy agenda. She is an honest broker who only cares about executing my dad's wishes on policy, which is much different than how things were in his first term when countless staffers thought it was their job to rein in Trump. From securing the border to not getting dragged into endless wars, to reining in the leftist administrative state, Susie has been a gigantic ally to the entire America First movement. Most people don't know that Susie was also the person I worked closest with on the 2024 campaign to bring RFK Jr. to the Maha movement on board, right? While others were skeptical of Make America Healthy Again, Susie immediately got it and has been one of its biggest advocates in the entire administration. She doesn't talk much about any of this stuff because she doesn't like to take credit for things, another rarity in DC, but I have seen it with my own eyes behind the scenes for years now. I rarely speak out about my father's staffers, but there is no one on earth more equipped to serve my father as chief of staff than Susie. Now, you got to admire that he went to the trouble to write all that.
Yeah, and obviously, they have a lot of faith in her, and I still think that it was a pretty big blunder, a lack of judgment to sign up for that interview. However, maybe I'm convinced that, she doesn't need to be thrown to the wolves for it.
Yeah. Well, I don't think she does either. Yeah. And I get what you were saying. I just disagree that I didn't think it was her fault.
No, none of it was her fault except for the initial decision. She should never accepted to go to Vanity Fair.
Yeah, you're right about that. And they put Kamala in there, I think, 7 times on the cover. I think 7 times they put her. I forget, but somebody Google that. But they put her on there more than once. Let me put it that way. But never Melania.
Yeah, but they're
very fine.
They're crazy. They're crazy.
Very fine people. Yeah. Did you know that with that very fine people bullshit, that lie? Did you know that Joe Biden, when he was the chairman of the Judiciary Committee during Ginsburg's hearing, her SCOTUS hearing, right? And I didn't get the context why, but I have the video. I could play it. He actually went out of his way to say, because they were saying something about the Confederacy, a bunch of racists, and he said, well, wait a minute. And he said that he talked, because it was about this one group that was the Confederate, what was it? The Confederate Mothers, something. I forget. But wait a minute. The Daughters of the Confederacy. That was it. The Daughters of the Confederacy.
DAR, Daughters of the American Revolution.
Yeah. Well, it was the Daughters of the Confederacy, the one that we were talking about, I believe. And either way, and he said that he's known the group for a very long time and that they have many fine people in that organization. The press could have found that as easily as I did, right? And they found it. They're stupid, but they're not that stupid. We have Google, right? And they never brought that up. Even when Joe Biden used the Charlottesville very fine people lie to launch his presidential campaign against Trump. I mean, they just didn't come out and say, well, and it wasn't until it was so debunked by so many people on the right that had a camera in front of them that very Jake Tapper finally did that and debunked it and said to his people that were on the show, well, that it was edited, that he never said that about them, that you edited out. And you know what I laughed at? It was CNN that did the edit. They edited out the part where he said, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and white nationalists because they should be condemned totally. All right. And they edit all that shit out. So for them to come out and start bitching about Fox News and whatnot, come on, please. Let me play this. Here's a cool one. This is just a sidebar thing. It'll be fun to watch. This is Times Square billboards take over by nativity scene. Now this is Times Square, guys. Ready?
Finding the real joy of Christmas comes not in the hurrying and the scurrying to get more done, nor is it found in the purchasing of gifts. We find real joy when we make the Savior the focus of the season.
some of us might consider that a beautiful display of sentiment.
Yes. And I'd like to point out that the people that were watching that didn't burst out into spontaneous stabbings or beheadings.
Nobody was shouting Allahu Akbar.
You're right. Did you see that when the one shooter at the school,
the Brown,
the reporter, the reporter, the first male reporter that reported, he says, so the man came in and he shouted something, and I'm sitting there going, how much do you want to bet that everybody watching, we all know what he shouted, but he wouldn't say it, and the news would not, like, we're talking about this other one, the other shooting in Texas, right? Or I'm sorry, in Australia, when they had the Hanukkah by the sea, right?
Yeah.
Well, they refused, even the Aussies, they refused to name the shooter, the father-son shooter.
Yeah.
Because it would have upset a bunch of Muslims.
Yeah.
I mean,
and did you hear the speech by the prime minister there? And he was going on and on about.
Linda's here; she could tell us more about it. Actually,
well, yeah, Linda, you might be able to. But the prime minister, I heard the speech, and he was going on and on about. Oh, I don't know if he said these exact words, but it was a whole diversity is our strength speech, and don't blame these. And he would not.
Right.
He just danced around the obvious.
Well,
so bad.
Right. There are many people, because of that and other things similar to it recently, they're talking about the Islamic swarm, the global Islamic swarm. And just like in England and other countries in Europe, the Muslims are moving in, many of them illegally, coming in as refugees when they're not really a refugee. And they're not assimilating. They go right on welfare, and then they want to take over. They want to then be judged by Sharia law instead of the host country's laws. Because we had them in Somalia already saying, like, a guy went around on YouTube, and interviewed them, and he said, would you rather be under Sharia law or the U.S. Constitution? Oh, yeah, well, Sharia, sure. He's like, why? And he goes, well, I'm a Muslim. Of course I want it. And he's like, yeah, but you live here. And he goes, so what? And I say that's a reason to deport that person. Yeah, happy holidays is a bad thing. We don't like that here either. Happy holidays.
You say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, because we've got Merry Christmas, and then you've got
Happy New Year.
Holidays around the New Year's.
Right. Yeah, you can say that, but what he's talking about is the media and Hollywood. They took away Merry Christmas. Yeah, they replaced with Happy
Merry
Holidays.
Christmas with Happy Holidays.
Yeah,
and that's wrong.
It is wrong. It's very wrong. And I'm glad. Holy cow! We just saw New York City, who's about to have a Muslim.
So, what do you think? Do you think Mamdani had an apoplectic fit?
Oh, I don't know. But I don't.
When he saw that,
yeah, he's such a phony. But he'll probably call the people that were put up to it and say, don't give the permit out for Disney to do that again. You know, he probably will. You heard his mother. His mother said he is not American in any way, shape, or form.
Of course he's not.
She said that.
I mean, maybe in name, but
yeah. Hey, what's up, Charlie? I didn't say hi earlier. Good to see you. Let's see what they did in Dearborn, Michigan. Yeah. I mean, we have to talk about it. And you can't say, oh, well, it's their religion. No, it's not that at all. It's the fact that they, whenever they get enough people, they then want to take over, and they don't want to do things. They don't assimilate. I personally think we should stop all immigration. Everybody, for 5 years, no more immigration. They've done that every time we had waves come over. The Italians came over. Guess what? They stopped immigration for a while because they wanted those people that came in to assimilate. How do you assimilate when you bring in now 25 million illegals, right? Who they did not want to assimilate with us. It wasn't like these were people that wanted to find a better life. That's what they told us. No, they wanted to scam. They wanted to sell drugs. They wanted to cause chaos. Like, a lot of them came from Venezuela. They emptied their prisons and they trained them how to come here and act like assholes.
You know what happens if you import the third world?
Yeah, I saw that too, Chris. Armed citizens stopped 48% of violent crimes last year.
It's higher than that if you leave out gun-free zones.
Right. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. I never understood how, and I'll have liberals tell me today, well, we can't have an adult inside a school with a gun. I'm like, yeah, but you do, the shooter. You know, and I'm like, you know how many mass shootings they have on schools that outside they have a sign that says something to the effect of, you know, some of our adult workers are armed and they're fully prepared to defend our children. They'll see that sign and go, I think I'm going to go to another school, because they may be crazy, but they're not stupid, right? Gun-free school zones makes kids a sitting duck for violence, for a guy who wants to kill as many.
I'll give you a guess. How many criminals have walked up to a "no guns in the building" sign and said, "Oh shoot," and moved and gone away?
Right, exactly. And
how come, you know what it is? It's like a no pissing section in a pool.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
How
it just doesn't
a
exist.
no gun section? It's like a no pissing section in a pool.
Yeah, don't piss in that corner over there. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny. But good one. But I always say that, like, they should just, a lot of veterans groups said, we have veterans that are retired and they're volunteering to go in your schools and carry to protect kids. And they and the libs, they actually are, well, what if the person has a bad day and goes nuts? You know, and you're like, what the fuck? Hey, 42. What's up, brother? Good to see you, man. When you say Merry Christmas and not Happy Holidays. Yeah, we don't like that, because I'm inviting you to take part in my celebration. If the invitation offends, my screening has worked. My screening has worked. I don't know what that means.
I'm not quite sure I get it, 40.
Oh, evening. There you go. Yeah, I don't know. You say Merry Christmas and not Happy Holidays. Yeah, we say Happy Holidays, but we don't.
I think I know what he means. All
right, go ahead.
He says, he says Merry Christmas,
right?
Because he's inviting you to take part in his celebration.
Thank you.
And if you're offended by Merry Christmas, then you get one of these.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome. I fully agree. I didn't read it right. Sorry.
Yeah, it took me for a second too.
Yeah.
Anyway, good evening, 42.
Yeah, what's going on, brother? Yeah, but I'm just glad to see that it's coming back, you know. So let's do here we go. Tampon Tim just can't stay out of the news. You know, Minnesota's U.S. attorney reveals a new fraud of $9 billion or more. It's unbelievable. They thought he was the quintessential manly man to become vice president.
Oh, yeah, and they put him up there like a manly man. And you know what? At the same time...
And he went like this when he came out. He like waved like that to everybody. I was like, oh, no.
And at the same time, they're saying like, J.D. Vance is toxic masculinity because he's got a beard.
Yeah.
This guy is the epitome of manhood.
Yeah. Unbelievable. So,
in case anybody didn't catch it, Merry Christmas to everybody who's here.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. And do me a favor, guys, if you haven't already, hit that like button. It helps us, please. Thank you very much. Let me see. What was I doing? Well, let me take that off. Hide that. But okay, the fraud in Minnesota's welfare system is so astronomical that after years of looking, they are still tallying up the damages. But the number runs upwards of $10 billion and counting. To put that in perspective, that is the yearly GDP of Somalia, to pick a country at random.
At random.
It's definitely at random, guys. You know, David Strom said, I would say unbelievable, but this is Waltz's Minnesota. U.S. Attorney General or U.S. Attorney's Office, half or more of $18 billion billed to state programs tied to fraud. Unbelievable. Now this is from let's see, the magnitude of fraud in Minnesota cannot be overstated. Gee, I wonder why. As the U.S. Attorney's Office announced a new batch of charges related to suspected fraudulent billing in Minnesota's government services, officials painted a dire portrait of just how extensive the problem might be. And see, that's why we hear Ilhan Omar coming out and trying to attack Trump and conservatives, because she's trying to change the narrative. She wants you all talking about racism, right? Instead of talking about there are a bunch of fucking frauds in her community and her district, because that's where it's all being done. The Somali district, all right, her district, it's got to be like, it's got to be real simple to find and that she is involved. Now she has to be involved, and once they do that, I don't know if charges are going to be. I don't know, because she has immunity right now. She has immunity right now.
Yeah, like I said before, I'm at the point where show me the money. I'm not interested in speculation. I'm not interested in BS. You show me. You show me the first ones doing the perp walk.
Right, right. But here's the thing: how do we get that money back? We can't. Because they're already saying they went on lavish vacations, cruises, all that shit, bought all kinds of stuff.
Much of it was sent to Somalia.
They bought a little sign for their house that says "Hut, Sweet Hut." They did all kinds of shit with the money, right? So, Assistant U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson on Thursday said the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services pulled claims for 14 programs identified by Minnesota officials as being particularly vulnerable to fraud, and found $18 billion in Medicaid billing since 2018. See, that was Barack Obama that made that shift. When he had like a really high unemployment rate. It was over 8%. And what he did was he allowed people that were like middle-class people but couldn't get a job, he allowed them to get Medicaid. All right, which you don't fit the needs test for that, but he changed it so that they could. Why? So that they would vote for him again in 2012. They did that with all those programs so that people, like, in other words, you have SNAP. It was not supposed to be for people that make $500,000 a year, but they included them in on it. And they did. I'm not saying 500,000. I'm just saying people that make a lot of money, you're not supposed to be on SNAP. It was supposed to be for people that actually really need the help. Not people that are leveraged up to their ass, but they're making over six figures a year.
And what about the 186,000 dead people that were getting EBT?
Yeah, how about it?
And the
5,000,
5 to 6,000 that were getting it, like 3, 4, up to 6 different states.
Right. Well, not all of those payments were illegitimate. Thompson estimated half or more, that's $9 billion, of the $18 billion was received through fraudulent means, though he said prosecutors are still working to find the exact number. I would venture to say that the skills that it needs to actually defraud these government systems would be skills that they could get a job with. Am I wrong? Like they say,
I think that's no. People just fill out paperwork. They get other people to show them how to fill out the paperwork.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying in order to figure out a way to come up with a scam that is foolproof, because you got Democrats running it, to come up with a scam like that, you could be creative in a real job.
Yeah, well, that's the people at the head of it. But they put themselves really in a bit of a pickle with this, because as the governor in Minnesota, he couldn't say anything about it because his biggest voting bloc is the Somalis.
The Somalis, right, in Minneapolis, right.
So if he decided to say something about it, he'd be out of a job.
Right. The magnitude of fraud in Minnesota cannot be overstated. It's staggering amounts of money that's been lost. I'm certain that it is a coincidence, but 2018 was the year that Tim Walz was elected. Not that fraud in Minnesota began in 2018, but it certainly has been going strong as one of our larger industries since he entered office. Lest you think that half of all Medicaid payments being fraudulent is the extent of the fraud, that is hardly the case. That's just Medicaid. What do you hear this? There are plenty more welfare programs that have been plundered. And you will recall that this saga all started with the Feeding Our Future scandal. That's the Safari restaurant, in which hundreds of millions of dollars, it's 250, were stolen in a massive cash grab over a couple of years. And before that, a widely ignored but 9-figure daycare fraud. This is what I talked about last week, where Ilhan taught Somali mothers how to create daycare centers in their own homes, and that they can, because they are dependent on welfare, they could get money from the state, which uses grants from the federal government. So we are paying for this shit, right? That they could, they learned what the specs were, the specifications to be able to get approved as a daycare center, right? And so they create them. They get paid to run the daycare center, and then they get paid for every child that goes in the daycare center
and then
by the government.
And then there was the whole autism thing.
Poor people. Yeah, there was another one, the autism thing. But the government or the daycare center goes further, because she advised him. She said, "Look, you got 5 of you sitting right here. You all have children. So all 5 of you create yourself a daycare center, and then all the kids but one, go to yours. And then the next day, all the kids but one go to yours, and that way you get money for all those kids being there."
Yeah,
that was total fraud.
They enrolled each kid,
God damn, I guess
all of the kids in each one of those programs, and they had Somali doctors on the hook that there was never actually a diagnosis of autism.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's just like Safari claimed that they fed, I think it was 1,000 children a day.
6,000.
Or no, it was 6,000?
6,000.
6,000 meals a day to children, and not one child received a meal.
No, I think some children were fed, but it was like, this is a 35-seat restaurant.
I know, but they were saying that they delivered them to the community, or that people came to the back of the restaurant. It's a lie.
A few kids got fed, but it was like a small.
I heard it was like 300 went out, and that was just so that
maybe
that was just. Let me tell you something. One time, I had a job when I was a teenager. Right, it was a summer job, and it was with this factory that they shipped stuff. So it was this military gear. They were big, looked like big giant suitcases, and there was stuff inside this, and we had to box them up. Right. They were heavy as hell, like 54 pounds each one. And you're doing like 25 of them a day. You got to pick them up, put them in a box, flip it, all that shit. It was grinding work. And so we get through it all, and the guy comes out, the foreman, he goes, yeah, we really screwed up. We're like, how? And he goes, well, we were supposed to wrap them all in this type of plastic before we put them in. And I'm like, I'm exhausted. I can't do that. And he goes, no. He goes, I'm just telling you, probably to throw us under the bus with him. But he said, here's what I'm telling you. He goes, we're not going to do them all because the inspection is tomorrow. And he goes, we won't get them done. He goes, so we're going to he goes, we have 5 pallets of them. Right. And he goes, on each pallet, we're going to have one box that has the wrap in it, and we're going to mark it. And the guy's just going to come in. He's going, all right, let's look at this one. And you just go over, and you know which one is marked, and you open it and you show him. He'll go, okay, let's go to the next one. And that's exactly what happened. And it was a fraud. It was a scam, but it happens all the time. But these people in Minnesota, in Minneapolis,
I mean, this is industrial scale.
Their culture is to scam everybody. And see, the problem is, it's like, think about this. You hear that, like, $10 billion went to globalist organizations so that they could say, how gay people in Saudi Arabia live without being hung or thrown off of a building, right? And we just sit back and go, oh, wow, $10 billion. Because we can't, that number's so high in our brain, we can't fathom that, yeah, we're paying for that. That our taxes are so high because they're doing dumb shit like this, right? Which is why the USA thing I thought was brilliant. And they're bringing Elon back, by the way, to do more of that. And so I that's how the Somalis got away with it. Because they just think, well, it's nobody's money. Like, it's the government's money. That's how they think. They're like Bill Clinton. They think it's their money. Well, it is their money, right? And so that's how they got away with it. Because when people found out, they're like, wow, like you said, like, wow, they're my constituents. I want to get reelected, so I'm going to look the other way because nobody's really going to give a shit. because nobody thinks of it as their money, and that's why they're paying higher taxes. I think that's part of the scam, like how they get away with it. It's crazy, but I think that's what it is. It'd be nuts. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, we got some videos. I should say. Well, let me see what else is down below. Truckloads. It's coming out. Truckloads of evidence showing that 2020 fraud. Yeah, let's do that one, and then I'll do videos. Here we go. So let's see. All right. So it's there we are. It's coming out in truckloads. Trump promises new evidence showing 2020 election fraud. So President Donald Trump has in recent interviews repeatedly foreshadowed new revelations about improprieties in the 2020 election. He has and he's already said out loud a couple times that he thinks Barack will get away with it because he had presidential immunity. Some lawyer should go to him and go, no, that ruling did not cover like election fraud and did not cover treason. You know, like I can't imagine the Supreme Court said, well, yeah, if he committed treason, sure, it covers it. No, because they broke it down into 3 sections, and in each one, it has to be a lawful thing as president he's doing as president in a program or an event that is presidential. That he has full immunity for that. Everything, all the last 2 things of the 3, no, he didn't have immunity. But the press made it look like he could shoot someone, you know, and he has immunity. That's not what it was at all. In fact, it was the opposite. But I can guarantee that he thinks that that's it, and so he's not going to go after him. I think he should, because he did some of the worst things any president ever did. The shit that he pulled. The quote: "The election was rigged in 2020. We have all the ammunition, all the stuff, and you'll see it come out. It's coming out in truckloads," Trump said during remarks at the White House. Let's see if we can get a video of that. Yeah, it is. Hold on. Let's get it back to that. I'm going to share this tab instead. Here we go. Let's listen.
Coming down, and the Democrats use this word called affordability. They look at the camera and they say, "What are you going to do for the affordability?" They keep saying affordability. Well, they're the ones that cause the problem.
Right.
Okay? They're the ones that cause the problem. That's all they're good at cheating in elections. Very good at cheating. They're professionals at cheating. Because we won in 2016 by a lot. The election was rigged in 2020. We have all the ammunition, all the stuff, and you'll see it come out. It's coming out in truckloads.
Uh-huh.
But then we won again in 2024 with an election that we call too big to rig. And we were leading big in the polls, but I said, go out and vote. You got to go out and vote. Make it too big to rig.
Right. Yeah, well, I can't wait to see that stuff. You know.
Yeah, but we're back to thanking the Democrats for stealing that election.
Yeah, I do thank them because it gave him 4 years. We went through hell, man.
Yes, and you know what it got us? It got us Trump 2024.
Yeah. I mean, there were times where I sat there going, holy shit, they may be able to force me to get the jab. Yeah, I watched something. Somebody sent me a link, and I watched it where there was a video that was done where there were 3. Well, there were 2 in the room and a third on camera. They were the embalmers, right? The guys that do embalming, right? And they said that they were pulling the white strips out of corpses' blood, right? Like because of and they all got the shot. Everyone that had that got the shot. People that had COVID or died of COVID did not have that stuff. And the guy holds up a jar of them and he shakes it. And so does Peter McCullough. He does that too. But I mean, think about that. That they were able to pull this elastic stuff. I mean, no wonder they died. Their arteries are clogged with that. Right? Yeah, black market jab cards. Yeah, exactly. They forced my son. He was at boot camp. He was going infantry and he wanted to go Rangers. And he was down at Benning in Georgia, Fort Benning. And he said, we got there and we got all acclimated, shaved the head. They did all that shit. And he goes, and when we come out, DI said, get in line and get your vaccine. We're like, for what? And he said, COVID. And I said, did you get it? Because I was on the phone with him. He goes, well, yeah. And I'm like, oh. I said, what do they give? And I looked it up. And he goes, I don't know. So I looked it up. And the Army did Pfizer. So I had to get it twice. So, and I was like, how could they force you? Because warm diarrhea brains President Biden didn't yet make that mandate for federal employees, including the military. And I sat there and I thought, okay, so you got a young guy that wanted to go in. He wanted to be a soldier for the longest time. He wanted to go in, and they told him, you can't go to boot camp if you don't get the jab. They lied to him. They told him that. And so he got it. And then I said to him, please don't get boosters, because I'm not getting anything else. I said, just don't get the boost. He never got myocarditis, thank God. But no.
Yeah, there's some vaccines that I think we understand and we've got a lot of experience with. We've got the hepatitis vaccines. We've got, we've got tetanus vaccines. We got measles, mumps, rubella. This whole new technology that Robert Malone developed with the mRNA, we don't know shit about it.
I know.
You know what I want to talk about? I want to talk about the first story top of your list.
What's that?
The Canadian story.
Oh, the Canadians, yeah. Hang on, I got to write something to my cousin.
If this is true, this is like something else, man.
Yeah, let me go to the top. I put it up there for a reason. Come on. What, this is nuts? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is.
Well, I have one in the middle that says this is nuts. Hang on. This is
right at the top there.
I know, but I have one that says this is nuts right here, the British one. But then I have the other one that says this is nuttier. That's what we're going to get into now. So let me pull that up. Here we go. So Canadian lobbyists push for government to begin euthanizing 12-year-olds.
Okay, right away. What is wrong with this picture?
The face of evil right there, right? I mean, think about that. The face of evil right there. That sentence. And yeah. Canada's euthanasia regime, already the fastest expanding in the world, is now facing a new and explosive demand for government to extend state-sanctioned assisted suicide, the MAID program, right? I talked about this like 3 weeks ago, remember? Where I said that they voted on a bill, their parliament voted on a bill to allow minors to get to enter MAID without notifying their parents. That should be a crime against humanity. And if I was a Canadian and they passed that, I'd be like, come on, kids, we're leaving. We'll go to Somalia because at least they don't do that shit over there. Right? But I'd be like, I'm out of here. There's no way. Because like with the trans movement, once that becomes like the thing, right? Well, I don't want to be the only kid that doesn't kill himself, mom and dad. Come on. I mean, holy crap. Kids that they won't let drink or vote, but they'll let them volunteer for MAID. Holy shit. Less than a decade after Canada legalized medical assistance in dying MAID, well, it began in 2016 as a narrow program reserved for adults whose natural deaths were reasonably foreseeable, because that's how they always start. It's incrementalism. The libnuts wanted to stop smoking on airplanes, period. They knew they couldn't get away with that. So what they said is, okay, so if you're a destination that's like 2 hours away, you can hold it for 2 hours. People went, okay. So then they said, all right, so now we got 2 hours. We're going to do 1 hour. Yeah, okay. Well, now you could do the whole thing. And people went, you know what? I'm now used to the fact that the government is able to tell me I can't smoke on an airplane. So I guess I got to accept it. That's incrementalism for you. And that's what they did with this shit. They're crazy. Remember when Canada used to be this quiet apartment on top of a really great fucking party? Well, now, I'm kidding, guys from Canada. Well, now it's like crazy town up there. Not the people. No, some of the people on the left, but not the people. Their government. They're just out of their goddamn minds. Chronic illness, disability, and even mental health conditions have all been added to the eligibility list, driving MAID deaths to unprecedented levels. Now, I'm waiting for the commercials to come on TV. You know, you have a chronic disability, we got a program for you. You know, something like that, right? Think about that. Now, advocacy groups are openly pressuring the federal government to allow minors, told you, including those as young as 12 years old, to qualify for doctor-administered euthanasia. Wow. Dying with Dignity Canada, one of the nation's most influential pro-euthanasia organizations. And why are they doing it? Could it possibly be? Is Commander still here? Could it possibly be that they had to ration their health care up there, and so now they don't want to pay for people, so they're killing them off so they don't have to pay?
Well, they came out with an assessment of how much money they had saved the healthcare system.
Right.
And I think that's pretty disgusting when you base your program on euthanizing people on how much you save the healthcare system. That's out there.
I want to thank Willie. Willie, thank you, brother. Thank you so much. That means a lot, man. I really appreciate that. You too can be like Willie. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. So, go ahead. Were you saying more?
What was I saying?
I thought you were done.
I think I was done.
Yeah.
What did I just say?
Mature mind. We're talking about the maid.
Yeah, it's pretty disgusting when you use it as a your advertisement is basically how much you save the medical system.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's you talk about TV spots. Ask your doctors if MAID is right for you.
Yeah, can you imagine that? Oh man. I mean, I remember when Obama said, when he was talking about it, the Kevorkian thing, which happened before him, but he was in a conversation with it, and he's on stage, and he said, well, instead of paying for a long procedure that's not going to help, we can offer you a pill instead. And he was talking about euthanasia. I was like, holy shit, this president of the United States is talking about killing people instead of having to pay for their medical. Like, what? Are you kidding me? Holy shit. Their proposal goes even further, argues that 16 and 17-year-olds should be euthanized with lethal injections without parental consent if they meet broad eligibility criteria. Now, this is the incrementalism of it, guys. When you finally see it, you'll never unsee it. So they start saying, well, we're going to do 16 and 17, not 12. Well, that's just ridiculous, right? And they have to meet this broad eligibility criteria. But then the eligibility criteria starts whittling away. Well, we don't have to put that on there, and to the point where they go, hey, can I get killed? Yeah, come on in. Do you have insurance? Yeah, okay, come on. That kind of shit. The group insists that maturity, not age, should determine. Yeah, now it's maturity, but then it's like, is he qualified? This one's breathing. That's what it's going to come down to. Should determine whether a child can be killed by a medical professional. Whatever happened to do no harm? So now you're going to have a kid that goes, I just got this acne. I can't get rid. I got to die. Okay, come on. And we know there are freaking doctors out there that will do it because they mutilated children. Right? Oh, this shit it bothers the shit out of me. Have all your craziness of the left going on there. Yeah, have at it. As long as you don't fuck with me, right? But have at it. But leave our damn children alone. Okay, lefties, libnuts? Leave the children alone. How about it? I can't even read any more of that. It just pisses me off. Yeah. Probably offer mobile MAID or mandatory MAID for wrong thinkers. Yeah, those with unacceptable views, as Trudeau said, of the truckers. Unbelievable. Unfreaking believable. Man. All right. So now you're probably sitting with a reasonable Democrat. Yeah, here you go. You're going to like this one. This is Jesse Kelly, and he has a message for GOP politicians sitting down with reasonable Democrat journalists. Let me bring it up. Oh, I got to do the it's Rumble. Sorry. Oh, wow. Okay, cool. There is no Nice. I like that. That there is no 2 commercials. Here we go. All right, ready? Let's go.
Let me explain something to every single Republican or somebody who works in Republican politics
I like
or
this guy.
Republican circles or somebody who wants to. This includes your local politics, state politics, federal politics. Let me explain something again. When you sit down with a journalist in the United States of America, you may want to convince yourself that it's a reasonable Democrat, of course, biased against you, but they still want to do the job of journalism and ultimately be accurate at all. If that's what you think, I need you to go lock yourself in a room and slap yourself in the face for about 45 minutes until your brain starts working properly again. There is no such thing as a Democrat journalist who's a little biased anymore in this country.
Right.
There are committed communists, and when they sit down with you, they are going to do everything in their power to destroy you, your country, everyone you
hear that,
care
Susie?
about, and everything you've ever loved. Okay? You're dealing with the spawn of Satan. And if you don't understand that and start treating them like that, we are going to constantly have to wake up and deal with news cycles like this because we're too amateurish and stupid and naive.
Exactly right.
Yeah, but tell us what you really think.
Yeah. Don't sugarcoat it, dude. Yeah, he was exactly right, though.
Yeah, no, I think he's
And that's
pretty
because
much,
of the Susie Wiles thing.
Yeah.
You know that, right?
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. Check this out. Thank you, Joe Biden. So another Chinese researcher busted for allegedly smuggling crop-harming biomaterial into America. Now think about it. They had, the last count was 24,000 military-age young men from China that came over the border. We don't know where the fuck they are. Now, to get here, they had to come up with $3,000. We found out that when they applied to come over here, there were certain ones that the government paid their fare. Why? Because something was going to be smuggled in, and these guys were going to go around and spray it or whatever the hell they do. And why do you think that the Chinese were buying up all our farms? Right? So what were they trying to do? Were they going to buy up all the farms and then destroy them by putting whatever this is? The Chinese national is accused of smuggling E. coli. Okay. Federal agents charged another Chinese national who was allegedly trying to smuggle biological materials into the United States. On Friday morning, FBI Director Kash Patel announced that the agency had filed charges against Zhang, Yuhuang Zhang, a postdoctoral researcher who was in the country on a J1 visa. He couldn't even get the J6. Anyway, the visas are issued to exchange visitors approved to participate in certain programs, such as studying or conducting research, according to U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. J1 visa. Did anybody know there was a U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services office? We're paying for that shit. I didn't even know that existed. J1 visas are provided to professors, research assistants, and students. And apparently now, Chinese people that want to fuck up our land. Zhang allegedly smuggled E. coli, commonly referred to as E. coli, into the country. He is also accused of making false statements about the smuggling scheme. Patel explained that E. coli, when not properly controlled, can inflict devastating disease to U.S. crops and cause significant financial loss to the U.S. economy. Now, the Democrats, I can guarantee, are going to come out and they're outraged that Patel would say that this fine Chinese guy would actually try to devastate our crops. Zhang was listed on Indiana University's website as a postdoctoral fellow. His research interests included recognition specificity in host pathogen interactions and engineering crop resistance to pathogen, according to the website. As of Friday afternoon, the university removed Zhang from its Department of Biology webpage. Yeah, of course they did. Quote, this is yet another example of a researcher from China given the privilege to work at a U.S. university who then allegedly chose to take part in a scheme to circumvent U.S. laws and receive biological materials hidden in a package originating from China. Well, we all know how that's going to go. He's going to be expelled and nothing's going to happen to the Chinese government for their troubles. Yeah, they caught one guy. Exactly right.
Yeah, my understanding is the E. coli, I'm not a botanist, but I'm not aware that it would hurt the plants. But if some
You
of
eat that
that
shit.
makes it through to people,
Yeah.
if they
Bad.
don't manage to clean it off the corn or whatever, it can make the people sick.
Oh, very sick. Yeah. It was an E. coli, or was it Ebola? It might have been Ebola. The guy that runs the World Health Organization, Tedros, whatever his name is.
Tedros.
The Chinese funded. They threw millions upon tens of millions of dollars at the World Health, at the WHO, because they wanted to get him installed as the leader of that, because they knew that he could be bought, because he was bought and paid for, and he covered up. It's either an E. coli or Ebola. The government of Ethiopia, when they had an outbreak there, they were so incompetent that more people died than was necessary or you could have imagined. And Tedros covered it up because he was paid to. So that's why he's in the WHO, because China got him in there by throwing money at the situation. Yeah, nuts. Let's see. Nick Fuentes. Here we go. This guy's good too. Let me see if there's. Yeah, hold on. Yeah. Come on. Excuse me. All right, let me pull it back. Now pull it up. I got allergies bad. All right, here we go.
I just want to clear something up on the whole immigration debate, because I'm not against immigration in principle. I recognize that some immigration can be beneficial. I also recognize that some can be detrimental, and that's an important distinction to be made. I also think we should stop mindlessly regurgitating this statement that immigrants built America, because when I look at the Declaration of Independence and Constitution, I find a lot of signatures from English Protestant settlers. And that is also an important distinction. Now, that's not to say that immigrants haven't contributed to the United States. They certainly have. But for the first 150 years of our country's history, they primarily came from Europe, a place with at least similar cultural, political, economic, social, and religious traditions. Now we're starting to import a lot more people from places with very, very different traditions. And that too can be successful when it's done in small numbers and assimilation is insisted upon. But when you start to mass import people with cultural traditions, which are not only different, but openly hostile to the United States, combined with the fact that we have an elaborate welfare state that they're able to feed off of and their never-ending attempt to turn the place they fled to into the place that they fled from, well, I think that's a recipe for disaster. I think most people with common sense and basic pattern recognition can observe the same. So we're done apologizing for pointing out the obvious. Again, it's not that we're entirely against all forms of immigration. We just think this is starting to look a whole lot more like invasion.
He's the guy known for the coffee mugs. When he does his videos, he holds them up. He must have like 20 of them. Well, remember the Chinese communist princess? Yeah, in Canada. Yeah, she was finally deported back to China. She was greeted like a hero. Yeah, I remember that. She was a daughter of someone. I can't remember. Let me see what else we got. Let me look.
How about the radical Democrat mayor and Border Patrol? That should be fun.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, this guy. It's not a lot, but what you see is like, wow. Oh, let me bring it up. It says the video shows the confrontation between the radical Democrat and mayor and Border Patrol. It's a confrontation, but when you read confrontation today, you think there's like fisticuffs, right? There's not, but still, we can show. Well, let me pre it. A federal immigration enforcement mission in Evanston, Illinois, erupted into a tense street confrontation after the city's progressive mayor physically approached and berated a Border Patrol commander. He was trying to say, you can't be in my city. He's like, oh, yeah, I think I can. The confrontation prompted a surge of protesters because, they went out on their Twitter or whatever apps they have. You got to come here. They put a pin in it, right? Who attempted to disrupt agents carrying out Title VIII operations. The clash unfolded on Wednesday around 11:30 a.m. near Green Bay Road and Dodge Avenue, where an 11-vehicle Border Patrol convoy had arrived to execute a targeted enforcement action. Witnesses said agents detained at least 2 individuals before roughly 24 protesters descended on the scene. The video captured, let's see, is that the video? Let me see. Yeah, it is. All right, we're just going to show the video. There it is. You guys can see that, right? Yeah, good. Okay. So let me play it.
Americans
They're going to do this again for me. Sorry.
Last year, we increased U.S. production nearly 20%.
If this is you at 39,
Oh, good
but
Lord.
this is the goal, then you gotta stop.
Highlight immigration. That's why we're here.
Sorry, Ashley.
I'm disappointed that you refuse to do a job.
Now, do you hear these jerk offs in the back hitting their horns and blowing whistles? Because they don't want you to, when you're filming, they don't want you to be able to hear. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, it is. That's why we're here. That's why we're here to be your community, because he refused to do
Yeah, the guy's basically the Democrat is basically saying, you know, we don't want you here. We didn't ask you to come here. And the other guy goes, well, yeah, that's basically why we're here, because you won't do anything about your community. So.
Violence committed by those that shouldn't be here in your community. I'm unaware of that happening. Well, that's probably.
He's unaware of illegals committing crimes. He's like, I'm unaware of that happening. Yeah,
Hey, Ovino, we don't want you here, bro.
yeah, you're this guy. We don't want you here, bro. Okay, just shut up. Just shut up. Rich, I can sort that for you. Another tactic is copyright music. Yeah, well, no, I don't think it was anything to do with the copyright. There was no music really, and if there is,
No, but sometimes they'll come
just
on
remove it.
Sometimes they'll come on and they'll play something in the background that's copyright music.
Yeah, but out there, it's at every single incident where someone is filming, like a YouTuber is coming out and filming, they start blowing whistles in your face so that you just can't hear the person.
But I've seen them where they will turn, even if it's just from their cell phone, they'll turn a song on copyrighted music.
Right. I've seen that too, but that wasn't what that was.
No,
because I didn't hear any music there. But
so is this Karen Bass actually kind of admitting she did something wrong?
I think so. Yeah, she admitted she mishandled the wildfires.
And
But
there's another one that
because
needs
she's
to
a
go away.
Democrat in California. What's that?
There's another one that needs to go away.
Yeah, she is another one. Yeah, we could do that one. Yeah, she was the least qualified person for the job. So naturally, they elected her. LA Mayor Karen Bass admits mishandling devastating wildfires. Remember they tried to blame Trump? And he said, you have no forestry management that you do out there. He goes, that's the problem. You got to do forestry management. And they're like, oh, he thinks he knows. Well, he's right. Los Angeles Democrat moron Karen Bass has admitted that she botched the response to the California city's most catastrophic wildfire ever in January. Bass made the confession. Remember, she lied. We played somewhere she lied about it in the beginning. Bass made the confession during a podcast interview recorded in late November, but her team yanked the footage before it could go public, the New York Post reported. The Palisades and Eaton fires, now etched in history as LA's most destructive blaze, exposed glaring failures in leadership as Bass confessed to mishandling the crisis on a podcast. However, the admission caused the mayor's team to scramble and scrub the evidence from public view. During an interview on Matt Welsh's The Fifth Column podcast, Bass let slip her candid thoughts on the disaster response. Quote, both sides botched it, Bass declared, a rare moment of honesty. You know, she had a random act of honesty there that cuts through the usual political spin. Yet, instead of owning the mistake, her team quickly moved to yank the 4-minute confession off YouTube. Bass's office is claiming the chat happened after the interview ended. The excuse rings hollow when accountability is already in short supply, especially for a disaster that claimed 19 lives due to the missing evacuation alerts. Bass herself pointed out the deadly oversight, saying they didn't tell people they were on fire. The admission highlights a breakdown that left residents defenseless. Okay, so she's now saying, well, they didn't tell people they were on fire. Well, she had to know that all along, right? That's number one. Number two, did she fire anyone for not doing that? Democrats never get fired. Did she fire anyone for not putting the warnings out? Isn't there like a law they have to put warnings out for that shit? The admission highlights a breakdown that left that left residents defenseless. The tragedy unfolded as fires raged, yet Bass failed to deploy a crisis response team for almost a week in January. The team consisted of hundreds of trained. You know why? Because she probably worried about the optics. That's what they worry about more than people's lives. The team consisted of hundreds of trained volunteers backed by nearly $1 million in funding. Only after inquiries from the Post did the team finally mobilize. Can you believe this? It raises serious questions about whether public pressure, not leadership, spurred action. Before her podcast slipped, Bass had already pointed fingers at the former fire chief, Kristen Crowley. Bass fired Crowley in February. Well, she should get her job back. The mayor triggered a backlash during the crisis for being away from the city on a diplomatic trip to Ghana. What are we going to get from Ghana? While the fires raged. That trip, which Bass later called a mistake. Oh, it was mistakes were made. Oh, a mistake. Okay. Also saw her delete text messages about the fires. A move ABC 7 revealed violated public disclosure laws. Yeah, they're just breaking laws altogether. So we don't have to read it anymore. She's a moron. They should have thrown her out, but she'll probably get reelected.
Again, I mean, we got so many of these people walking around.
Fail upwards. Exactly.
Why haven't I seen anybody in handcuffs?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. You got to ask them. I don't have all the answers. I got most of them, but I don't have them all. I'm kidding.
I'm waiting to see the first one.
Yeah, I know.
Come on, guys. Give me some hope.
Here we go. Here's one on Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz issues an ultimatum to Governor Tim Walz. Ready? We got to refresh because.
And the saga straight out of Minnesota continues. The state and Governor Tim Walz has been put on a 60-day countdown by the federal government, which is basically saying, fix your Medicaid fraud problem or we cut off the money. Right. And now the warning is coming from the head of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, Dr. Mehmet Oz. Just take a listen at what he had.
Now, you're going to have Democrats say, well, this Trump regime, they're just taking money away from people that need it for Medicaid and Medicare and all that. And
to say this past Friday.
Our message to Walz is clear. Either fix this in 60 days or start looking under your couch for spare change because we are done footing the bill for your incompetence.
The bottom line there, well, Minnesota has 2 months to act. And what exactly do they have to act on? Well, here's a quick refresher in case you missed it. Federal investigators say, quote, bad actors, some allegedly within Minnesota's Somali community, may have stolen over $1 billion in Medicaid funds. How did they do that? Well, officials say some people may have submitted fake claims for services that weren't actually provided. For example, billed for care that never happened, or even inflated costs for programs like housing support and autism therapy. And now 2 programs
they're very clever.
Are under particular scrutiny. The first being the state's housing stabilization program, and the second, an autism therapy program that went from $3 million in 2018 to nearly $400 million in 2023. And now following this revelation, the federal government has been very clear about what it wants to see. Freeze high-risk providers, verify or remove suspicious providers, overhaul audits and oversight, and send weekly updates. Do all of that in 60 days or federal funds for these programs could be cut, potentially millions of dollars. And now this is just the latest update in Minnesota's Medicaid fraud saga, and the clock is officially ticking. We'll keep watching to see if the state can meet the federal deadline. But for more, be sure to follow us at thenationaldesk.com.
Yeah, so the federal freeloading has come to an end. Finally. Let's see. We got another one. We got another one. It just keep coming in. It's a leftist gets a reality check on the J6 stuff. So here we go. Let's refresh.
I don't care how you slice it. This young man came with receipts.
So I just want to make it very clear. Donald Trump radicalized an insurrection on January 6th that killed, that killed one of y'all's side of the aisle. Let's be very clear. A young lady was killed there, and she was Republican because Trump radicalized. Trump did not make the message or make the call to stop. Instead, he told him to storm the Capitol.
No,
and so one of y'all's lost.
Guys, it's 2025, almost 2026, and this moron still believes all that shit? Does she not know that Trump put out a video and tweets galore and that all the platforms censored it? They all censored it.
Lost their lives because of what he's done. So how do y'all explain that?
Okay, so about January 6th, I can speak quite a bit on this issue because I was actually in DC on January 6th. I was scheduled to speak at the Capitol building. It was an event that was going to be taking place coinciding with the other event that happened at the Ellipse. President Trump exited the stage and attendees were instructed to walk towards the Capitol building for these speeches. And before any of this happened, President Trump actually knew, and he had an idea, hey, we need to increase the security. He reached out to DC Mayor Muriel Bowser and Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi and said, hey, let's get the security up for this event. Let's make sure we have enough Capitol police officers there. They both declined because they didn't see it as important enough. They didn't see it as risky enough. So each and every time we hear this rhetoric about saying, oh, Trump insurrected, he said to his...
I'm sorry. I love this kid.
People go march there and attack the Capitol building. No, I was there at that speech, front row, 10 feet away from that man when he said, march peacefully. I saw on Twitter before they nuked him off the platform, he said, protest peacefully, hurt nobody. And then at the very end, he posted a video on Twitter, once again, before he was nuked off the platform, saying, please leave, do not break any laws, go home and stop. That is what President Trump did on that day.
I don't care how you...
He's right.
Yep.
God, I love that young people are getting it. You know what I mean? I do. I just love that the young people are getting it. Let's do a couple more before we got to go.
I was going to say, we got room for one more. How about the...
Well,
how about the...
I get to pick one, for Christ's sake. I want to show a polluted river.
Okay.
All right. And you're not going to believe this. This is a river, and it's so polluted you can walk on it. Where do you see this? It says, watch this river is so polluted you can actually walk on it. So it says, Sloan here. The Buriganga River in Bangladesh is widely considered the most polluted in the world. So much so that you can literally walk on the water held up by layers of debris. Let's look closer. So let's just go down to the video. The videos are always good. So let me bring it up on X so we can get a better look. Now watch this. Look at it. That's a river. They're trying to clean it up. You'll see the river underneath eventually. The water. Watch how deep it is. See the people, like, it's up to their chest now. That's a river. It's got like a 1970s Beretta theme, doesn't it? I hope I'm not in trouble for this. I'll probably have to remove it.
You can just mute the sound.
Yeah, it's already too late. Yeah, I'll just mute it. It's already too late. I'll probably have to delete this. Like, you
can't you just mute the sound when you edit it?
I don't know. That's a damn good question. But look at this. Darling.
It's layers and layers of garbage.
It's unbelievable. It's all garbage and filth. But look how deep it is. I mean, that's the river, for goodness sake. You would think like, oh, it's probably only like, 6 inches. No, it's a freaking river. But look at that. They got
it's
it.
It's actually a little river.
Didn't they get it clear? How about that? How about her? Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah,
I tell you what, if you play it again with the sound off, then you can just cut out the one with the sound on.
I'll just cut the whole thing. It was just fun to watch. I didn't care. Because you know how long it takes to do that? You got to, they give you the tools to do it. God bless them. Because they'll take monetization off, but I'm not I never monetize because I did it twice and I got so many goddamn complaints. Like, Rich, I don't want to watch these goddamn commercials. So I said, all right, fine. So I took it off.
Yeah, the commercials aren't worth it.
Yeah, I don't know where well, let's see where they are. Hold on. Let me go back in. Yeah, I you know what? I never even looked. I didn't care. I said it's one of those countries that we really don't think about. So let's see. Oh, Bangladesh. Yeah, we said it's in Bangladesh. That's right.
Yeah.
Set it up here. It's the Buriganga River in Bangladesh. All right. So that's it.
You want to push it one more?
Yeah, go. I could sit here till 10 o'clock, but go ahead. What other one you want?
My you know what happens. The alarm goes off.
Yeah, I know. So which one?
I want to see Trump dissing Biden.
What's
Trump disses Biden and Obama?
All right, there you go. Trump disses Biden. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, you guys got to see this to believe it. It's awesome. We you probably heard about it, but it's pretty awesome. And he did something to Obama too, but we'll get into that in a second. Let me all this is someone, they're going on a tour through the White House and they're going down the Hall of Fame. And so they have pictures of every single president. So you'll see it. But he puts that, now he added plaques. He keeps adding shit. But under Obama, he put the most divisive president who spied on an opponent's campaign. It was really something what he wrote. But here we go. Just watch. You got Johnson, Nixon, Ford. That Democratic Party prank known as President Jimmy Carter's next. You see the plaques that they added?
Okay, guys, a little bit faster.
So there's a Karen yelling at them. There he is. The Reagan, yeah. And then, yeah, CIA. Hey, Bill, you suckers. And then we got W, right? And Obama.
No, I just asked.
And then we have Trump. President Trump after that one. Right? And then the next one is President Auto Pen. He has a picture of the fucking auto pen.
Look at that. Stop here. Keep going.
Look at that. He has a picture of the auto pen. Yeah, Biden's picture is the auto pen. You have to love it.
It's pretty funny.
You have to love it. Right? And he has down there all the wording. I can't read it. Look at that. Biden's auto pen. Oh, my God. That's hilarious. So Karen's kicking everybody out. So it's the West Wing. Right. I love that. But he apparently just had a plaque put on for Barack and Barack's pissed about it. So I guess they got to wait for the next Democrat to get in to remove it.
Hopefully that's a while down the road.
I know. Hopefully, you know, did you watch Tucker's thing from Turning Point USA?
No.
His part. Okay. So I watched it last night. Just his part. It was on YouTube and I would play it here, but it's long. But it's very good. He pointed out that inside MAGA now, you got a lot of people that are trying to dispute JD getting the nod, right? And of all the people that could be right now that are up for it, JD is the only one, and I agree with him. He said he's the only one that understands Trump's core thing, which is America first. That's it. America first. It's very simple. Right? America first. Any program, if you have a politician that puts a program out or talks about pushing a program and it doesn't automatically say, well, America first, Americans are going to be taken care of first, and then we'll worry about the rest of the world, that person has no business being in power of any kind. Because, I mean, let's face it, you don't have to be a Republican or a Democrat to believe that. You're an American. And see, you know, when Trump first said it, the Dems and the media, same thing. They all came out, oh, so fuck the world, right? And he said, America first doesn't mean America alone. It means that instead of taking care of the rest of the world first, and we have veterans sleeping on the streets, we're going to do America first, right? I don't see how anybody inside the MAGA movement, no matter what you believe, who you want the successor to be, I don't see how any of them at all could be against America first. But I mean, you might have two or three, right? But that's what he's talking about. I think JD should get the nod. He hasn't done anything so far that would disqualify him. And he does get America first.
And he's got the support of a lot of people. Marco Rubio officially came out and said, if JD's running, I'm not putting my hat in. By the way, you want to go back in the comments a little bit. Estelle, I think that's Bob.
Oh, where? Further up? What did they say?
He put you a super chat.
Oh, Willie's discard. Yeah. Oh, Louie. Oh, Louie. Thank you for. I didn't even see that, bro. Sorry, I was reading. I'm sorry. Thank you very much. I really appreciate. Woo-hoo. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Let me see. Okay, cool. I got one here that you guys, the video, I think you guys might like this. And I agree with it wholeheartedly. Let me get the video. Where the hell is it? Here it is. I'm going to put it over to X, and then I'll have to stop it and do all that. Okay. This is a minute 53, but it's fantastic. It's about it's the decline of American department stores. And the reason why I like it is because they talk about John Wanamaker's, which was in Philly. And it was a really great. My parents used to take us there when we were kids, and it was a great department store. And you'll hear about it in a minute. So let's go here. Ready to share this tab instead. So here we go. Okay.
One of the things that actually really radicalized me on the war on beauty, which is the fact that beauty is systematically being erased, not just from our arts and culture, but from our daily lives, from the post office to the grocery store, was the decline of the American department store. Customer service, products, just the whole atmosphere of places that are supposed to be glamorous and beautiful was just not there. I started reading about old department stores, about Bullock's Wilshire, and especially Wanamaker's in Philadelphia. This is actually where I learned about the concept of aesthetic evangelization. The fact that beauty lifts people up to be better people. Wanamaker's, which was one of the biggest department stores in the country, was founded by John Wanamaker, who was a devout Christian, and he wanted his store to be a pillar of the community, not just for people to go shop, but that it would actually lift up the neighborhood. There was a museum. There would be a display of a massive painting of Christ's Passion at Easter. There would be concerts. Not only that, but the employees that worked in the store had to go through moral formation so that they adhered to the Christian ethics of the store. You would be treated with the utmost respect, care, and service that all pointed to a Christian moral and world. That just simply radicalized me, because if you go into any store now and you think of a more opposite experience that you get, it's like, give us your credit card number and leave. It's not just an arts that you see the health of a society reflected, but even in things like a department store. And I want that glamour back. I love shopping.
I do too.
I love fashion.
I don't love shopping,
we deserve that, especially for the prices you pay at a place like this. Make department stores beautiful. That actually matters more than you might think.
Yeah. Like my parents used to take us there at Christmas time, because we would go to the lighting of the Christmas tree, right? They had the largest Christmas tree I've ever seen in my life, because they had like 18-foot ceiling, you know, and they had it like almost to the ceiling, for goodness sake. It was this humongous tree. And they spent, days, decorating and all, and to light it up. We all were there, and then you got to see Santa and all that. But I'll never forget, I was a really little kid, my brother and I. Jimmy, if you're still here, I don't know if you remember this, but you were with me. But my mother took us in there. My dad had to work, so we took a bus because my mom didn't drive at the time, right? So we go down there, and she's doing Christmas shopping. She goes, look, there's going to be a lady that's coming out here, and you two, I want you to behave, and she's going to help you with something. I have to do a little shopping, but I'll meet you back here. Don't worry, I'll be back. And so the woman does come out, and she was a young woman, and she looked very pleasant. She worked there, and she goes, "Don't worry, I'll have them out in a minute." So that kind of sealed it for us. We were like, "Okay, you're not abandoning us, right?" And so we go in the store, and what it was, and I didn't realize it till I was like older. What it was she said, "Look," she goes, "My name is whatever." I don't remember that, but she said, "I understand you guys want to get your mom something for Christmas," and we're like, "Yeah." She goes, "All right, come on in. We got a lot of stuff in here, right?" And it was just a room where like you would buy something for your mom, right? And so she was like, "Does your mom like perfume?" I was like, "Yeah," because I didn't know, I was like, "Yeah," because she's a woman. She liked perfume. She goes, "Well, let's look at these." She goes, "What do you think? Would she like it?" And the woman like walked us through like we were actually going to pay for this shit, right? And so she goes, "All right." She goes, "So this is a great choice. Your mom's I know she's going to love this." She goes, "Let's wrap it. Do you want to help me?" Right? And she would put your finger here, and we did all that bullshit, right? It wasn't until years later, and then we go out, and my mom says nothing. We're carrying a bag, and we're like, like hoping she didn't see the bag, right? I'm like 8 years old, maybe even younger, and we go walking out, and my mom says, "Oh, there you are. Come on, let's go. We got to catch a bus. Let's get out of here," right? And so we go walking, and mom never said a thing. Like she didn't even see the bag. We're like, wow, how stupid. She didn't even see it. We got away with it, right? And we gave her the present, right? But it wasn't until years later that I put it together that my mother actually paid for the damn perfume. Like you paid a certain amount, and everything in the store would be covered by that, right? But that's what John Wanamaker's was. They did stuff like that. You know, it was great. And what happened was the times changed. If you know what I mean, the time changed,
and he had a Christian faith based,
and society went to shit, and they finally had to close it down. But it lasted a long, long time, and it was a beautiful store. I mean, it was the architecture in there was gorgeous. Yeah. I was going to say you probably don't remember. I do, and you weren't in a group home at that age, Jim. You were too young for that. So yeah, I'm kidding, but yeah, I'll never forget that. And I thought years later, I was like, holy shit, I remember that. And now I'm like, my mom must have paid for that. You know, that was kind of cool though for a little kid. You know, yeah, it was sweet. You know, probably the only thing my mother ever did that was sweet. But
I can do a tangent to that, a very brief tangent.
Go ahead.
I was, I think, like 7. My father was adamant that he never wanted to owe anybody money. He grew up in the Depression.
Right.
He bought his first house. It was out in the country. We moved out there, and he didn't take a mortgage. He did borrow money from my grandfather, but the grandfather was an old bastard, and my dad scraped the money up and paid him back like right away. Yeah. So fast forward, they didn't have credit cards. They never had credit cards.
Okay.
So I'm like 7 maybe. And so I go out with my aunt, and she starts paying for things with credit cards. And so I'm all, Mom, Dad, get credit cards. You'll get these things and you don't have to pay money. What did I know? I was like 7 years old.
Well, hey, you're trying to be industrious.
I was 7 years old. I did not realize. I just knew that my aunt had this card, and she didn't have to fork out money. She would just show them the card, and they would give her the stuff.
There you go. That's an awesome story too. Because when we're kids, we don't think of like adult stuff, like you know, everything is like rotten and we're never going to see any justice and all that bullshit. When you're a kid, it's magical, you know. But let me do one last thing. And
I think Jimmy's pissed off at you.
Oh, he is, yeah. Because, but Jimmy's talked about that stuff himself on his own channel. They all know that. All right, so I wouldn't ever say anything that they don't know already. So here we go. Josh Hall tweets out. Here we go. Breaking. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has just released hundreds of bombshell Russiagate documents proving that Barack Obama personally ordered CIA agents to manufacture false intelligence on President Trump and was actively working with the enemy to undermine and erode Americans' confidence in our democracy. And we're talking a foreign enemy, okay? And President Trump's landslide 2016 victory. This was a coup attempt by Barack Hussein Milhouse Benito Obama and his cronies. As Jesse Waters said, whatever happens to these guys is not revenge, it's accountability. But let's watch.
News alert, the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, releasing a bombshell report today that shows a conspiracy by a sitting president, Barack Obama, and his intel agencies to sabotage the president-elect, Donald Trump, brainwash the electorate, and undermine the legitimacy of an election.
Right.
There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. It wasn't.
Gabbard got her hands on a House intel report that's been locked away in a CIA vault for almost a decade. Investigators spent over 2,000 hours looking into how the Russia hoax was born, interviewing 20 CIA and FBI officials. And it turns out that the Obama administration doctored the intelligence to make it look like Putin and Trump stole the election.
Yep.
A month after Trump beat Hillary, Barack Obama wasn't satisfied with his intelligence reporting and ordered his CIA director to create a new assessment of how Russia interfered with the election. This was a highly unusual move.
If you remember, I did a video on this, and it was a music video where I tell this entire story in like 4 minutes.
John Brennan handpicked 5 CIA analysts to write the assessment.
Yeah.
And they were siloed. None of them knew what the other was doing. And only one analyst was in charge of drafting this report.
Now, guys, this isn't Jesse Waters talking. He's talking about the documents that Tulsi Gabbard declassified and released.
There was nothing routine about this. And it was
this prick right here, okay, John Brennan, to this day goes on all the news programs and trashes Trump and says, we did what we were supposed to do because we honor this country. He's a fucking communist. He admitted he voted communist, that he's an avowed communist.
Yeah,
So
and there's another
he
one, like
headed
I
up
said.
the fact that he headed up the CIA just blows my mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, like I said, Brennan, Ray, McCabe, how come not one of these people has been led away in handcuffs?
Well, if you think about it, Trump's entire first term was he was defending himself against assholes like this. He
Right.
didn't have the time to go on offense.
Almost a year into his second term, some of these people should be put away.
Yeah, but do you know how long that takes?
I
Look,
know.
we just got to the stage where Tulsi Gabbard was able to declassify everything and release it.
Yeah,
So
I
now
know.
now these people are being put in their place, cosmic justice. Okay, we're going to know that they know that we know that they lied and that they really did all this shit. And now they're going to go for criminal referrals after that. It takes a long time.
I keep my patience, but sometimes it's hard to maintain that patience.
Oh, I understand. I get that. Hold on, what are you saying? Obama? Yeah, he created the entire thing. Yeah, well, he helped Hillary did the dossier thing in order to get her illegal private email server off the front pages. Obama helped her because he was emailing her. In other words, he knew she had the illegal server because he was emailing her, but he used a different name on his email. We caught that too, right? So these people are
Rush job
despicable.
to publish before Trump was
Oh, you
sworn
hear
in.
that shit.
Nothing was coordinated with the other intelligence agencies either. Basically, this was home cooking for Barack Obama.
Yep. In other words, he didn't put a bulletin out for all the FBI, all the CIA, all the NSA. He didn't do that. National Intelligence Office. He didn't do that. He picked certain people, which is why they went into the FISA system, because the foreign intelligence, that FISA system, that was so that if you're working on something, any agent can get in and see what you're working on, right? There's no hiding it except for the FISA, because FISA is special and that you get to work in secrecy. And that's why they had to do the FISA warrants so that nobody else would know what they were doing. They in other words, they did this intentionally and they knew everything they were doing was criminal.
There were four key elements.
He handpicked people who were absolutely loyal.
Oh, of course. And yet they have the balls to say that, well, Trump wants people loyal to him, like he's a king, right? What the hell did Barack Obama do?
Barack Obama. There were four key elements from the assessment that were repeated over and over again and formed the basis of the Russia hoax and the Robert Mueller witch hunt. One, that Vladimir Putin wanted Donald Trump to win.
He didn't.
Two, Putin took action to help Trump win. Three, the Russians had blackmail on Trump. That was the Steele dossier. And four, that the Russians tried colluding with the Trump campaign. None of any of this was ever true.
Right.
There was no reliable intelligence to support any of these allegations. Senior CIA officials repeatedly refused to traffic in these allegations, but they were repeatedly overruled by CIA Director Brennan and FBI Director
Brennan needs to
Comey,
go to prison.
who insisted that they be pushed, even without verifiable
He's
evidence.
still got 3 years.
The Obama administration cherry-picked the intelligence, lied about their sources, misquoted sources, didn't corroborate their claims, suppressed intelligence that ran counter to their narratives, and even used anonymous internet postings. Rank and file CIA admitted what they were doing violated their own tradecraft standards. There was a massive pressure campaign that came right from the top. CIA analysts say they received unusual directives from political appointees, the CIA director, and Obama himself. This is how the Russia hoax was born.
Yeah, 30
Donald Trump knows that the Russians helped him win in 2016.
Putin hated Secretary Clinton so much that the flip side of that coin was he had a clear preference.
Guys, the truth of this is the Russians wanted Hillary over Trump because they knew she could be bought because they bought her. Okay, that whole Canadian Uranium One deal, they bought her. $145 million donation by Russian bankers that were in charge of that transaction when she was running the CFIUS board that was trying to vote on whether they would be able to buy it. Putin, they keep saying Trump was a puppet of Putin. Putin wanted that Uranium One, the Canadian Uranium One deal to go through because he wanted to corner the market on North American uranium, and that did it. And Hillary Clinton convinced all the other members. Now, all the other members of the board, they were Barack Obama's cabinet. That's who they were. The cabinet was the head of the CFIUS board, stood for CFIUS, CFIS. It was something foreign and I can't even remember what it means now. But it was foreign investment. Oh, the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States. That's what it was. And he created it. And some think he created it so that Hillary could scam because he had to make her happy because he beat her and he humiliated her when he beat her in the primary. But it turns out that her husband, Bill Clinton, went over to Russia after he was declined permission by her State Department. Okay. He was going to go meet with the bankers. They said no. So what does he do? He goes over there anyway, and he meets with Vladimir Putin in his winter dacha or dacha, whatever the fuck they call it, right? His winter house. And he had an interpreter with him. I think the same interpreter that they brought into Trump Tower to try to nail Don Jr., right? With that woman who spoke Russian and all. And they cut a deal. He got her to convince everybody on the board for $145 million donation. And so Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton were actually puppets of Putin. Can you imagine if she won that election? She would be beholden. $145 million. Blackmail right there.
And besides, you know all the missing emails?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know where you should have looked for the missing emails?
Yeah.
Ask the Russians.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he said that as a joke. And they were like, you see, he knows. He said it as a joke. They're such assholes. But she bluffed it off saying, well, they asked me for all the emails and I gave them all to them. But I have emails with my daughter talking about grandkids and a wedding, and I didn't think they needed it. That's not what the order said. It said, we want all of your emails. So she illegally and that it was all the bad shit that she deleted, saying that it had to do. Well, let's finish.
Person running against the person he
It's
hated so much.
It was Russia in a very systematic way tried to interfere in the election and to try to advance the prospects of Donald Trump being elected.
This was such a malicious disinformation campaign perpetrated on the American people that at one point, 60% of Democrats believed the Russians hacked our voting machines to help Trump win the White House.
Yep.
What this report actually shows is that the Russians just wanted to create chaos and undermine Americans' faith in democracy. Solid intelligence suggested that Vladimir Putin didn't care who won. He had no preference.
Right.
But like most people, expected Hillary to win and had a little docket of compromising dirt on her, that he never released.
Right.
Now,
he had all kinds of dirt on
wanted Trump to win. Why didn't Putin drop the dirt?
Right.
There were high-level DNC emails that detailed evidence of Hillary's, quote, psycho-emotional problems, uncontrolled fits of anger, aggression, and cheerfulness.
She's crazy.
And that then Secretary Clinton was allegedly on a daily regimen of heavy tranquilizers. Then CIA Director Brennan and the intelligence community mischaracterized intelligence and relied on dubious substandard sources to create a contrived false narrative that Putin developed a quote-unquote clear preference for Trump.
Now, if Clinton was on tranquilizers like the Russians believed, well, why didn't they leak it to help Trump win?
Right. Exactly.
All I have seen is what the Intelligence Committee have reported through their investigation. I think the underlying point there is that we understand from intelligence what Russia said that they had. And the important point here is that if they were trying to influence the election, as President Obama and James Clapper and John Brennan, everybody said they were doing in order to support Donald Trump's election, they would have released the most damning of that information.
Obama and his spy chiefs knew that Putin didn't prefer Trump over Hillary, but they cooked the intelligence to make it look like he did.
Yep.
Obama and his intel spies knew that Putin didn't collude with Trump and that he didn't even direct his people to help Trump win. But they put it out there anyway.
Yep.
In a sense, Barack Obama did exactly what Putin wanted, undermined Americans' faith in free and fair elections and caused chaos in our country. Barack Obama, the CIA, and the FBI were the ones doing what our enemy wanted.
Do you believe that any of this new information implicates former President Obama in criminal behavior?
We have referred and will continue to refer all of these documents to the Department of Justice and the FBI to investigate the criminal implications of this.
For even former
The
President
evidence,
Obama?
correct. The evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment. There are multiple pieces of evidence and intelligence that confirm that fact.
Yep.
Even 2 years later, after the election, Barack Obama was still pushing a hoax he knew wasn't true.
Yep.
And he knew it wasn't true because he helped manufacture it.
They're undermining our alliances,
Smarmy asshole.
cozying up to Russia. What happened to the Republican Party? They're cozying up to the former head of the KGB.
He wasn't the head. He was a colonel.
And he was a technician. He wasn't an operative.
Exactly.
Actively blocking legislation that would defend our elections from Russian attack. What happened?
Now, I don't know if it's possible to indict a former president for actions he took while in office. I'm not a lawyer, proudly. But Brennan, Comey, and others may have severe liability. Trey Gowdy says we know for a fact that Brennan committed perjury when he lied to Congress.
Director Brennan, do you know who commissioned the Steele dossier?
I don't.
Do you know if the Bureau ever relied on the Steele dossier as part of any court filings, applications?
I have no awareness.
Did the CIA rely on it?
No.
Why not?
He lied. Brennan lied to Congress when they asked him, did the CIA spy on Republican senators? And he said no. And then when they caught him because of communications they got, he had to come back and apologize for lying. And they never charged him with it.
Because we didn't. It wasn't part of the corpus of intelligence information that we had. It was not in any way used as a basis for the intelligence community assessment.
And he's lying his ass off.
That was done. It was not.
No.
Well, my final thing, I'm going to replay the video where I tell that entire story in less than 4 minutes. And then we're out of here. Hang on. Now, I'm going to get in trouble for this because I have this on, I have a content ID under a different user for this, but I'm just going to play it anyway. I don't care.
A shadow whispered in the east wind house. Secrets spilled like wine splattered on the walls. The script was written, twisted and bold. Truth was the fire, but the lies took hold. Did you think the sun wouldn't rise behind the curtain of your disguise? The fall of the crown, the truth's been found. Echo screaming loud, treason in the sound. The house of cards is tumbling stage was set with a web of schemes. Dreams of power, but they split at the seams. A puppet show for the world to see. But the strings snapped loose, now they're breaking free.
Right.
Smoke and mirrors, they don't last long.
With Trump.
When the tide turns, when the world catches on. Did you hear the whispers turn to shouts? The truth, my friend, always finds a way. Follow the crowd. The truth's been found. Echoes screaming loud. Treason in the sound. The house of cards is tumbling down. Follow the crowd. Follow the crowd.
Yeah, that's the end. Let me cancel that. All right.
Okay, man, I stuck with you.
There you go. Hey, it's 9:34. We still have Dr. Jade here. That's something.
Yeah, my ass alarm went off after a half
Her
an
ass
hour.
alarm went off, yeah, like a half hour ago. Guys, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it. Love you all. We will probably do a show next Friday. Yeah, I'll put something in. Let's just say we're going to. But if I can't for whatever reason because of holiday, I'll put something in on the post on the channel. So, guys, if you haven't already, please hit that like button. It helps us more than you know. We really appreciate it as well.
Come back with a friend.
Yeah, bring a friend, please. Thank you, sir. I haven't seen you before, but hello. Thank you. Welcome. Take care, guys. All right, we're out of here. Thank you for spending these 3.5 hours with us. We really appreciate it. We know it's Friday night. You can go anywhere you want, but you come here. We love you for that. We always will. All right. Have a great weekend. Watch my videos during the week, please. Like and comment on them. It helps. See you guys. Merry Christmas if I don't see you guys. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Well, we'll be here between then. All right. Anyway, Merry Christmas. Thank you. Talk to you later. We're out.